morning, everyone. Welcome to City Hall, welcome to Council Chambers, and welcome to the meeting of the Los Angeles City Council for today, Friday, November 15th, 2002. The City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. with very few exceptions, but normally here in City Hall. And we do invite the public to join us and participate in council meetings. For those of you unable to join us in person, City Council meetings can be viewed live from home on your cable station, Channel 35. We can be viewed live via webcast from the city's homepage or heard via council phone. We have 5 members present at this time. It is 10:10 a.m., so we are shy of a quorum. But this being Friday, as is customary, we have a series of presentations and introductions to be made. Let's begin today's meeting by recognizing Councilmember Tom LaBonge.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the council. In just a few moments, one of my staff members is going to assist me in bringing the wonderful certificate that we're putting the final touches on for a very special person. At this time, I'd like to call Jack Giroux, who for 47 years has served this great city of Los Angeles as a detective. Standing here on the right side is all of Robbery Homicide Division. He also has with us today is David Fredericks, who's a detective. Let's hand someone that video camera. His grandson, a detective at North Hollywood Division. It's an honor to have Joe Gunn, the executive director, join us, Joe, from the Police Commission. Captain Jim Tatro, head of Robbery Homicide, and also Lieutenant Jimmy Grayson, please join us. And Dixie, won't you join us right now as we begin this presentation? You ever show up and not have your gun? Yeah. Mr. President, I'm going to call on Joe Gunn right now, who's absolutely never lost for words, to talk and articulate a little about this great police officer, this great detective. Joe Gunn, Executive Director of the Police Commission. And Robbery Homicide, you could be seated if you'd like.
Thank you, Councilman. It is a real honor to be here with Jack. Back in 1962, Jack and I worked West LA together, and I know you won't believe it looking at us now, but we were part of the wet basketball team that did very well in interdepartmental sports. But even back then, the younger officers always looked up to Jack because he was someone who was dedicated, who understood police work, who understood how to deal with the community, and he was just a dogged investigator. I mean, there wasn't anyone that's going to get away when Jack Giroux was on their trail. And we've known each other for, 40 years now, and it's just a real pleasure for me to come here when the council deservedly is honoring him, because he has the deserved reputation as one of the top investigators in the history of the Los Angeles Police Department, especially when it comes to robbery investigations. So I just want to join with all of you in expressing my gratitude for just knowing Jack all these years and wishing him many, many more successes. Bert Bachman was going to be here today, but he couldn't get away. But he wanted me to tell Jack publicly that he's going on 50 years, so there's no reason to even think about retirement because he has to match Bert's record. So Jack, on behalf of the Police Commission, thank you for all your service and thank you for your continued service.
Ms. Mizikowski.
Thank you. Before Tom makes the final presentation, I just think that whether or not he stays around to hit 50, that we might want to bring him on as a consultant, Joe, to the Police Commission, because we've been very, very worried about retention and retaining our police officers. And here we have the perfect example of someone who has given 47 years, stayed around an incredible amount of time, has done good. And I don't think we have seen a member of the police department retire in years who has not been joined by this number of his colleagues in recognition of those years of support, those years of good work, that level of service. It's not just that you've been here for 47 years, but as Joe said, you have been a model, and a mentor, and you are respected and loved. And let me just have those members who are here from the LAPD to join with you on this special day to please stand and be recognized as well, and let you see who is here on your behalf. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, also, thank you very much. I'd like to ask that Brent Richards, the partner of Jack, join us as well. But for 47 years, this Detective 3, very special person, serial number 7603, was born in Wilmar, California, and attended North Hollywood High School, and is a lifelong resident of this great state of California. And he served his country as a member of the United States Navy and was stationed at Point Mugu, where he worked very diligently on the Navy Supply Depot. And further on, his detective has happily been married to his beautiful bride, Dixie, a dedicated employee of the Los Angeles Police Protective League for the last 26 years. He joined this police department on February 1st, 1956. It was a cold and rainy day, but that shined in the afternoon as this young recruit put that badge on his uniform. He also ultimately was assigned from a felony car robbery homicide division, where he's promoted to sergeant and assigned to the robbery section, now known as Robbery Homicide Division, Special Robbery Section. Detective Giroux promoted to the rank of detective in 1971. And since 1965, he has served as an instructor for recruit and in-service training, which include classes in stakeout, identification, and the proper way for detectives to use and hone their skill. He collaborated with Training Division to develop various bulletins to help inform other young officers and detectives the proper way to be a detective. For the many, many years that he's served our city, he's been a qualified court expert for robbery investigations, identification, and procedures in both Superior and Federal Court. He's instrumental in establishing new case law regarding conspiracy to commit robbery without a victim, which is very important. And also, we wanted to say in 1972, Detective Giroux was one of the founders of the California Robbery Investigators Association, where he served as its president from 74 to 76. And during his 46 years of service with the Los Angeles Police Department, Detective Giroux received many meritorious police. I'm reading faster as if I got to rush 47 years, but I don't want to rush 47 years for you, Jack. I'm going to slow down just for a moment and say, but in those years, he received many honors from the police department for his outstanding work and his successful work as a detective. And his dedication is truly an outstanding example of exemplary service for all employees, but 47 years, almost a half a century. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Los Angeles and the city council, by adoption of this resolution, hereby congratulates Detective 3, Jack Giroux, for his 46-plus years of loyal, dedicated service to the Los Angeles Police Department and to the citizens of this great city, and commend him for his unfailing commitment to duty and professionalism in serving the people of Los Angeles. I want to salute you for all this. I join on behalf of Mayor Hahn and all Council Member Hahn as well, our President Alex Padilla, our City Clerk Mike Carey, and all the members who are here today to salute you, Jack, for the great amount of service you've given and your love and care, and also the great respect that you have for your fellow workers at Robbery Homicide Division. Congratulations, Detective 3, Jack Giroux.
Mr. Zine?
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. Jack Giroux, the legendary Jack Giroux and Dixie. There's always a strong woman behind a strong man. I want to acknowledge Dixie, your wife. Jack, the many, many years, all the people you've trained in the LAPD, the times that I visited up there at Robbery Homicide and seen you going through those files and solving those crimes and making those arrests. While you've aged in wisdom, you have not aged in energy. Your energy, your enthusiasm remains today as it did 47 years ago. Congratulations. I've been at other events when Captain Tatro has brought cakes in to celebrate anniversaries with the police department, and I'm sure we're going to find you working for the people of Los Angeles for many, many more years. Are you number one in seniority yet?
No.
So, number two. So obviously you have 47 more years to go to attain the number one seniority in the Los Angeles Police Department. Jack, congratulations and best wishes to you and Dixie.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we call on the detective, Captain Tatro from Robbery Homicide.
Just a couple of quick words. It certainly has been said well this morning, but I know when I started the Academy in 1970, Jack Giroux was an instructor for myself, as I'm sure he was for probably Dennis Zine. And I would just like to echo a little bit of what Councilman Zine just said. This is not to celebrate Jack leaving, because Jack Giroux remains today one of the very hardest working detectives in the Los Angeles Police Department. It's an amazing energy level and pursuit of the people who rob our citizens on a daily basis, I'm afraid to say, and who get involved in serial crimes. Jack Giroux is the guy who works on those, puts them together, and that's why he's known statewide, sincerely statewide, as Mr. Robbery. They call him from all over the state and the western part of the country asking about suspects and methods of operation. So again, my congratulations to Jack. Thank you for having Robbery Homicide Division here today. It's a good day for all of us. Thank you.
Here we go. Give a big hand for Detective Jack Giroux.
I'm overwhelmed and grateful for this award. And I'll just keep trying to serve a city and get those robbers. That's all I can say, and thank you to all the guys in the division that make me look good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Robbery Homicide.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Members, we have achieved a quorum. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Burnson, Galanter, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Holden, Labange, Miskowski, Pacheco, Perry, Reyes, Ridley Thomas, Weiss, Stein, Padilla, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The council is officially in session. Members, let's go through the agenda and call matters special and then return to presentations. Mr. Clerk, first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Ms. Miskowski moves. Mr. Labange seconds.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Ms. Gruel moves, and Mr. Zine seconds.
Before starting the regular agenda, item number 3, there's a request from Council District 1 and the Planning Land Use Management Committee to continue that matter till November 20th.
Members request to continue item number 3. Is there any objection to that? Seeing none, item 3 is continued to November 20th.
Mr. President, items numbers 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing.
And I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. We shall deem the public hearings open and closed. Members wishing to call item 1 or item 2 special? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll on those items. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Item number 2 is approved. Item number 1, being an ordinance, carries over for a second reading. Next item.
Items numbers 4 through 8 on the regular agenda are items which public hearings have been held. Motions are required on both 4 and 5.
Items 4 through 8 now before us. Public hearings haven't been held. A motion from the floor is required to reopen these public hearings. Members wishing to call any specials? Item 4, call special by Ms. Miskowski. We'll need a motion from the floor on that. We'll need a motion from the floor on item number 5 as well. Mr. Garcetti? Number 8, call special by Mr. Garcetti. And item number 7, call special by Mr. Garcetti. Any other specials? We have 5 and 6 remaining. We do need a motion from the floor on item number 5. Is there such a motion? If not, we'll call item 5 special as we await a motion from the floor. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll on item number 6. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Items numbers 9 through 25 are items for which public hearings have not been held.
And I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. We shall deem the public hearing satisfied. Without objection, members, items 9 through 25 are before the council today. Any specials? Item 11, call special by Mr. Weiss. Any other specials? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please open the roll on the balance of the items. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. Item 9, being an ordinance, carries over for a second reading.
Mr. President, that brings you back to the items called special.
Okay, members, we have gone through the consent matters on today's agenda. We have a number of presentations to be held. We also have a few agenda items specifically item number 7, which is relative to Santa Barbara Plaza, and item number 4, which is a joint meeting with the CRA. If there's no objection, what I'd like to do is take item number 7 out of order to dispense with that and leave the balance of the agenda and/or presentations to desire of the council as a body. Is there any objection? Seeing none, then Mr. Clerk, let's take item number 7 next. Mr. Garcetti? We're going to take up item number 7 now. You had it called special. We can recognize Councilmember Rudy Thomas to begin. Mr. Thomas, there are cards from members of the public submitted. Public hearing has been held in committee.
Mr. President, members of the council, this is a great day for us. I think it would be appropriate, with your permission, to move a 5 to 10-minute public hearing on this matter. A minute, you might say, for every year of work that we have put into this project over the decade of the 90s now into the new millennium. And so with your permission, may I then ask for your consent to afford those who are on the speakers list to have an opportunity to be heard. I think you'll be greatly benefited by it.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy Thomas. Let's then, without objection, reopen the public hearing. Members of the public, there are a good dozen, if not more, speaker cards submitted. Mr. Rudy Thomas has moved a 10-minute public hearing. So if I can do some quick math here, that's just less than a minute per person. So we would ask for your brevity. If members of the public before you have made similar points, please try not to be repetitive. Let me call out a series of names and ask you to line up behind the podium. The council calls forward Tony Howell, followed by Tracy Gray Barkin, Joe Hubbard Jr., and Jerry Edwards. Please come forward at this time. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. President, council members, good morning. My name is Tony Howell, property owner in Santa Barbara Plaza for 22 years. I'm here to ask your support and encourage you to approve the necessary funds to redevelop Santa Barbara Plaza. There are several reasons why this project should move forward without further delays. One, it's been dragging on for over 20 years. Second, the plaza was designed and built in the early 50s. If you drive through today, you will see a lot of vacant buildings, boarded up buildings, 9.5-acre parking lot in a blighted condition. The center sits in the heart of the Crenshaw community, surrounded by very expensive homes. And these reasons why you should approve the funds to redevelop the plaza. On September the 12th, I sent a letter to all city council members attempting to give you a clear overview of what's been going on for the last 20 years. I do hope that you had an opportunity to review that letter and give it some considerations. In early 1988, a small group of us as property owners went to our councilwoman at the time, Ruth Kalana, and expressed our concerns about the condition we had been put in as property owners to lose our property. Asked the councilwoman to help us put Santa Barbara Plaza back on track for development.
Sure.
She immediately set up the she immediately set up the Community Advisory Committee, which called the CAC. Through the CAC, we was able to get the project back on track. Behind the councilwoman came Councilman Mark Riley Thomas. We continued expressing our concerns with the Councilman Thomas, and asking him to help push this project forward. So these are things that just been a hardship upon the property owners. It put us in a position to not only lose our property, there have been 5 of my fellow owners lost their property through foreclosure. There is other property owners
Sir,
on
if
the
I may-
edge of losing their
If I may
property.
ask you to conclude, please, we have
So
other
thank you
speakers.
very much.
Okay, thank you. We have 7 minutes left in the 10-minute public hearing. We don't want to cut people off. I just want to remind people that we are on a little bit of a clock here. Tracy Gray Barkin, followed by Joe Hubbard Jr., Jerry Edwards, and John Mack.
Hi, my name is Tracy Gray Barkin. I'm with the Los Angeles Alliance for New Economy. I'm here to voice our strong support for the Santa Barbara Plaza development. At the request of the developer, we met with the community, members of the community, and put together a community benefits agreement. And although we're still negotiating, it's not finalized yet, we're confident it will move forward. The community benefits agreement includes local hiring, living wage jobs for the employees, union jobs for the janitors, and land for a community center. Because of the overwhelming support from the community, and because we are confident that the CBA will be finalized, we ask you to support this development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hubbard.
Yes, council members, this has been a long haul. It's been 12 years, at least 12 years, and it's seen 3 mayors and 3 city council people. I'd just like to take a minute out and say a special thanks to Ruth Galanter, who actually initiated this effort and first initiated the community participation in the process. Of course, Mark Ridley Thomas took it to a whole nother level for the city at large to see. But this is a project that has been a long time coming, one that the community deserves, and one that I hope the city, full city respects, because there's been a lot of hardship, and it's been a long time, and it's something that will catalyze this community, a community that is one of the finest in the entire city. So
Thank
we
you.
certainly hope you support us. And again, thanks and good luck to City Council member Ruth Galanter, and all the other retiring councilmen, and of course, Mark Ridley Thomas for his fine
Thank
work.
you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Again, if I can ask public speakers to line up behind the podium, Jerry Edwards, followed by John Mack, Dr. Geraldine Washington, and Faith Mitchell.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. I'm a property owner and business owner in the Santa Barbara Plaza and have been for the last 30 years. This project has been on the table with the city for the last 20 years. It began with Councilwoman Ruth Galanter, with her putting together a committee, her CAC. It's gone through 4 council members. It started with Russell, Ms. Galanter, also Nate Holland for a minute, and Mark Ridley Thomas. It is certainly time that the city decide that they would also do something for, as we are now called, the South Central Los Angeles area, which we are not. We are the West Los Angeles area. But in spite of that, we have not had the cooperation that we've needed with the city to move this forward. We've seen other projects like the Cathedral, we've seen the Staples Center, we've seen the Grove, we've seen all of these projects approved, and yet our project has been mired in the mud. It is now time that we ask that you do realize where this project is and what it'll mean to the city. I understand that tomorrow members of the city council are going to go with the mayor overseas, and they're going to talk about the things that need to be done or that they are doing in the city of Los Angeles. I would hope that they would then say also that they have also done some things for the Santa Barbara Plaza. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mack.
Thank you. Good morning, Council President Badil and members of the council. I'm John Mack, and I'm here on behalf of the Los Angeles Urban League and many of the residents of the Crenshaw community and the South Central Los Angeles community. And first of all, as previous speakers have indicated, we're delighted that this project is finally
reached the level of the full City Council for your consideration, and I'm here to urge you to approve this project. As others have indicated, it's been a long, hard struggle, but it means so much. It has the potential for its economic impact upon an area of this city that is in great need. I think this project offers great hope and great opportunity. It will provide for homeowners 140 single-family homes, for seniors 180 affordable units, and for the residents of the area, many exciting new retail outlets so they don't have to travel long distances in order to be able to shop and find various goods and services. And I might add that it's also very close to the headquarters of the Los Angeles Urban League, within a mile. So I'm here on behalf of my organization that is closely tied to this area. It will provide 200 permanent jobs. Jobs are very critical in our community. It will also go a long way toward eliminating blight that is disproportionately bad in this area. Another aspect that hasn't been talked about very much, the developers, Capital Vision Equities and Keyshawn Development Corporation, are from the community. We're talking about a business opportunity for capable developers so that that community can have that dollar turnover more than one time, both through employment opportunities as well as circulating the economic aspect. There's been some conversation about an unusually large subsidy being tied to this project. In our opinion, it's in line with other projects over the years, and we don't think that that's an area that people need to be exercised or greatly concerned about. So again, we thank you for your consideration, and we urge you to approve this very, very vital and crucial project that will have a tremendous impact upon this community and thousands of people.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Our next speaker is Dr. Washington. Members of the council, we're down to 2.5 minutes on the public hearing, and an additional 10 cards have been submitted.
Good morning, members of the council. I'm Geraldine Washington, president of the Los Angeles NAACP. I might add that the NAACP is a tenant in the area which we are considering today. Not only is the NAACP a tenant, I am also a resident of the area. I am speaking for people in all of the surrounding communities who are very anxious, who have waited too long, who have listened to promise after promise and have been disappointed because those promises have not been kept. There has been a terrible decline in the economic vitality of the area because of the decline in businesses in the area. If this project is approved, and I hope it will, I trust that it will, we already have a nucleus of business people who have been waiting so that they could improve their businesses and enlarge. And so we believe that this development will stimulate growth, economic development, and unusual and greater pride in the area. It is too late, council members, for some of the businesses, business owners, because they were not able to stay in the hunt for all of these years. But for those who still have the spirit and the will, the redevelopment of this area will encourage them to continue to make the contributions that they feel that they want to. So I urge you to approve this plan. It will not only benefit the communities that surround it, but when the Crenshaw area was thriving once, it was an area that people visited from all over the city. Other people were interested in organizing and developing their business. So it will be good for Los Angeles. So I urge you, approve the plan, the project, and it will certainly be good for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now call on Faith Mitchell, followed by Kwame Antwa and Adrian Mayberry, and I'm going to ask those additional persons if they would come forward. Let me remind you that we are moving through this somewhat briskly because of the specified amount of time permitted with the public hearing, so if you can be governed accordingly, we'd be most appreciative. Ma'am, please proceed.
Thank you, Councilman. My name is Faith Mitchell. I am not only a resident of the area, I also speak on behalf of Friends for Expo Transit. I live within 1 block of this project, and I strongly urge your support for this entire project by the entire council, unanimous vote, if you will. It will not only restore the economic viability in the community, which is very essential, it will provide jobs, it will provide housing, it will alleviate blight, both economic and physical, key criteria for the use of redevelopment. This is a cornerstone of the community that needs to be revitalized, and will also serve to complement another asset that has already been approved unanimously by this body, that is the support for light rail along Exposition Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kwame. I'm a tenant at Santa Barbara Plaza. I've been there for 20 years, and I've gone through this ordeal for 20 years. I'm representing the tenants and business people over there. I guess most of you don't know the problem, economical what we have gone through over there. And we are appealing to you to please hurry up, expedite these, do whatever you can to get this through. I've worked there, and about 90% of the original people I started business there with have lost their business. I've worked there to see my comrades, 3 people die waiting for this outcome of these things here. We lost everything. And I think it's your moral duty to see that we do have business. We lost everything. We lost all our income and still don't know where we're going.
All right.
Now we have this man who is capable and able to do for us what we've been waiting for, so that we can have our relocation money and be relocated.
All right.
And I hope and appeal you guys will vote for him and help him get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We'll now hear from Adrian Mayberry, followed by Joyce Perkins, Orrin Belgrave, Taylor Mayfield, and Mary Jones Darks. In that order, please, if you would come forward.
Good
Please
morning.
proceed.
And I will limit my comments. I won't say everything I would like to say. I will point out something that I don't believe has been addressed, which is that this project, when money leaves the Crenshaw area for lack of goods and services, it doesn't just leave the Crenshaw area. Most of the time, it leaves the city of Los Angeles. And that should influence every single one of you, whether it's your district or not, because this money is going to Culver City, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, Torrance. Mine personally often goes to Pasadena. This money has wheels and it is traveling, but it is not staying within the confines of the city of Los Angeles, and that should be very important to all of you. The other thing is that this project is a catalyst project. Areas further east and south of here don't stand a chance of getting national retailers if we can't make a successful project happen in this area. If it can't happen in Crenshaw, there's no way we're going to be able to get dollars coming into other urban areas of Los Angeles. So I strongly urge you to stay the course, proceed with this, and vote in the affirmative unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, council members. I'm Joyce Perkins, and I'm the chairperson for the Crenshaw Community Advisory Committee. And I would like to first of all say that this is a very important day, not only for the CAC, for the community. I would like to salute Councilwoman Ruth Galanter for her efforts in beginning the CAC, and Councilmember Ridley Thomas for his efforts in supporting this project. I would really like to give appreciation also to the community, because they have stuck with us and have supported our monthly meetings in helping to shape this project and drive it forward. And of course, the developer for his input with the community, and mainly, last but not least, the mayor's office for their very strong support of this. I sent a letter by email and have had distributed a letter to the council members pointing out the benefits of this project, and so I won't repeat that, but I just want to strongly urge you to support this project. The community is behind it. It represents many years of work and hard work and support and thought, and it is a project that will benefit the entire city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. I'm Warren Belgrave. We've met on many occasions. I am also an owner. At one time I came to Los Angeles, went through a bad period, became homeless. Now I'm an owner in Santa Barbara Plaza. I love it. I want this project to go forward. But at the same time, while we talk about dollars and cents and money, as a historian, we all know what this does to the black community. I have a black wax museum, and I hope that wax museum, after the end of the dust, at the end of the day, that it still stands. And everything else, I think, should go through like it's planned. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker, followed by Levi Kingston, Reverend Galen Reavers, Pamela Narcissus, Polly Bankhead, Mike Watanabe, and finally, that will be the final speaker. Thank you.
Yes, and good morning to everyone. My name is Taylor Mayfield, and I am a member of the Crenshaw CAC, as well as a resident of Baldwin Village. And I'm also an executive board member of Baldwin Village Community in Action, which is a resident-based community group in the Baldwin Village area. Let me just say this about this project. The people involved in this project have worked very diligently to see this come forth. I'd like to commend, first of all, Mr. Chris Hammond, who's the president of Capital Visions. He has come to our monthly meetings. He's given us presentations. He's kept the community informed. He's had community input into this project. His vision of a retail, single-family housing, senior housing, and public sector development is, in my words, again, to be commended. We need not only the retail, we need the housing. The seniors currently are being displaced. There is a Santa Barbara Plaza there that's there now. The seniors are being displaced. They need a new place to gather. This development will bring them that. The public youth sector gives us an opportunity to come together as a community and try to get a community center built there. So many good things are coming out of this. We've been struggling with this for too long, and we hope this morning that you'll take it upon yourself to approve this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, council members. My name is Mary Jones Darks, and I'm president of a neighborhood association in the Baldwin Village area where this project has taken place. I first of all would like to take the opportunity to thank the City Council for their adjournment in memory of my father and brother who died suddenly, and I'd like to thank them for that. Also, I want to congratulate Councilman Ridley Thomas for his new position as the assembly person for the 48th District. And the councilman has been working very hard with this project, and I am definitely in favor of it. As you know, the community here, we're all in favor of it. I just wanted to say that we had some speakers at the last hearing who spoke kind of negatively about the community, and there are some negative things going on at the plaza. However, the community people that are here today, we've been working very diligently throughout the community, the surrounding areas, not just when we thought the project was about to be approved, but we've been working for years to bring the community up to make it a viable place to live. And I'm here today to just say that we want this project, we deserve it, and I urge you to approve this project today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, and we are moving rapidly toward the final speaker. Sir.
Yes, my name is Levi Kingston. I'm the CEO for the Community Consortium, and that's an outfit based in an area outside of the area in question. But to get to the point, I think that the important thing to focus on here is the approach to the project, which is mixed use, which I believe can benefit most of the jurisdictions in and around Los Angeles. What needs to be looked at is, of course, you know, the economic floor, which doesn't exist, the infrastructure, which is fragile in this particular area. But I think that you have to emphasize the fact that the approach, mixed use, you know, I have personally witnessed the failure of some shopping centers across the street from one of the agencies that I'm the chairman of the board of and founder of, a child care center across the street from University Village. The great University of Southern California at one point did not support the idea of approaching a shopping center with the mixed-use formula. And subsequent to that, we saw that University Village, which it now owns, was in foreclosure at least 3 times. So I think that everybody here needs to take heed to what this experiment is about. I think it's a positive move and a good thing for all of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Councilman and Council. I'm Reverend Galen Reavers, pastor of Lincoln Memorial Church and also CEO of Amistad Development Corporation. I stand in support of this motion. It's been long in coming. I'm also a resident of the area. It is something that is sorely needed. I know the impact that it will make economically as well as bringing up the property values in the area. I've worked with Capital Vision with Amistad Plaza over on Western, which will be opening in a couple of weeks. It is providing homes for 56 families. The councilman has been very supportive of that effort, and we applaud you. We know because of that, Chris Hammond listened to the concerns from the CAC members of that area and went forward to develop Chesterfield Square with the retailing and the success of Home Depot and Food for Less and others. So we know it's not just a pipe dream, but this is something that will make a true difference in our community. And I am here and hoping that this council will support this and vote it unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We're going to hear the next 2 speakers, followed by Deacon Alexander and Jackie Hawthorne. Thank you. Please, ma'am.
Hi, yes, my name is Pamela Narcisse, and I'm the president of the Adelanto Committee, and I do reside here in the area, and I just want to give my support and just congratulate you, Mr. Thomas, on the 48th District.
Thank you very much.
But also I want to thank all the city council members, and especially you, Ruth Galanto, who started this project. Yes, it is long overdue, and it is time. Everyone else is building all over the communities in different cities, except over there on King and Crenshaw, and it's time. I also want to just say that I am for the job creations in the community here, and hopefully when they're doing the jobs, that someone will consider the young people here that reside in this community, and hopefully we can decline on the crime rates that's going on. And I know a lot of you leave late at night and see a lot of things going on around there. I also want to say thank you for the 180 housing for the senior citizens, the 140 homes for low-income families, and just making this a beautiful spot the way it used to be. I remember it a long time ago. But I also want to say this to everybody here in the community who works so hard, and I know what you mean. You're going to have ups and downs, but you got to stand as a whole unity to make sure that this project gets done and we don't get put aside again. And for the restaurants for our seniors, the seniors that aren't able anymore to come out and go very far. That is very much needed. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. May I ask that you come forward and make your comments, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name
And
is
Sergeant, if you'd help us with the maintenance of the volume, it would be appreciated. And while I have your attention, Mr. Speaker, may I take the opportunity to introduce to some and present to others the Speaker of the California State Assembly, our own Herb Wesson. This project happens to be in the 47th Assembly District, and Mr. Wesson is here to lend his considerable support to the effort, and in a few moments we'll hear from him. Ma'am, will you proceed?
Good morning. My name is Polly Bankhead. I'm with REMAX Westside Properties. I live in the Baldwin Hills community, and I sell real estate throughout the community. I believe that the property values will greatly increase in our community based on the development and completion of this Baldwin Hills project. It will bring much-needed resources and services into our community, and as one of the other speakers stated, right now we're all going outside of the community to go to nice restaurants and other services that this project will provide. It will also bring much-needed housing, affordable housing, into our community. At present, the median price homes in Los Angeles County, $325,000. Many people cannot afford that price range. 140 homes built in this community, less than $325,000 will greatly enhance the values. We really support this project. We're looking forward to the final development of the project, and we appreciate the support of the council. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Jackie Hawthorne. I'm here today on behalf of Congresswoman Diane E. Watson, Congresswoman of the 32nd District. She lives in the district. I live in the district. She would be here today, but she is in Washington doing what we have elected her to do. But I have a prepared statement that I will read from her. I am very sorry to not be there in person today to give my heartfelt support to the revitalization to what heretofore has been known as Santa Barbara Plaza. For over 15 years, our community has longed for the day that revitalization would begin. Last week, I testified before the City Council's Economic Development Subcommittee and stressed the need to expeditiously move this project forward. In conjunction with State Assembly Speaker Herb Wesson, State Senator Kevin Murray, Councilman Mark Ridley Thomas, Mayor Hahn, and all elected officials for this community have worked together to bring this project into fruition, and all recognize the critical nature of this improvement. I urge your vote today in support of the financing structure for this project, and rest assured that you have in me a partner in Washington who will do everything possible to see this project's successful conclusion. Thank you all very much, Congresswoman Diane E. Watson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Mike Watanabe. I'm the Executive Director of Asian American Drug Abuse Program. I live in the Crenshaw area, and I support this project wholeheartedly. I look forward to having more services in the area so I don't have to go to Culver City to buy fish hooks and things of that nature. I'd like to see it in the immediate neighborhood. Having said that, let me say that I have some concerns. Yeah. ADAP has been serving people in the Crenshaw community for 30 years. The Santa Barbara Plaza holds 2 large programs of ADAP. Not all of the plaza is dilapidated. We have been working hard for 12 years and growing and serving that community. My concern is that as the development proceeds, that the programs that are viable are found a good home and with a smooth transition. So I ask that the council support this development, but ask that the council take care to assure smooth transition for our program and other programs in the plaza. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is S. Deacon Alexander. I'm the president of Vernon Main Neighborhood Council. I represent the area south of the Century, north of Martin Luther King, and west of Central Avenue, meaning the east side. I assure you that that is where we intend to shop. That is where we go to the movies, and this project will allow us to continue that in first-rate fashion. Mr. Chair, jobs is the holy grail of integrity when it comes to the question of the unemployed. Certainly, after the murder of Santana, the wonderful young actor, I assure you that South Victoria, the whole West Side, is, in fact, for all intents and purposes, the heart of South Central. The thing is, however, when you talk about jobs, for example, the Rampart Washington Boulevard job, which was a thing that was taken over from the Stewart family, for the entire job, there were only 2 members of the community for the entire job, 1 African American for the whole job site. That, I guarantee you, is not going to be the case under the leadership of Mr. Chris Hammond. He promises, and I would stake my life on it. I assure you, my reputation here with the City Council is that individual who goes around protesting jobs that don't have African Americans, who don't have members of the community. This particular job has already met with the leaders and the members of the unemployed community in the Lower Baldwin Hills community. I think that that is the most essential question. It is the benchmark of integrity. When we talk about jobs, necessarily, we are not talking about jobs for the community, with the exception of the Malton Plaza. Thank you so much, Capital Vision, and I would hope that this City Council would recognize that and move this project forward.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your presence here and your comments. To all the public speakers, this formally, once again, closes public comment on this item. Before returning to council discussion, let me briefly recognize Councilmember Misikowski for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've had a group of 30 students here from Venice High School. I'd like them to stand and be welcomed by the City Council. They are a special group of students. They were recognized yesterday in Venice High School for students who have either maintained grade point averages of 3.75 or better for 6 semesters and who have not had a day absent or a day tardy for those 6 semesters. So these are kids who really understand the value of education, are pursuing it, and they're going to spend the rest of their day here touring City Hall. And when I met with them earlier, I tried to entice them, a lot of them, to look at public service, public process, and we heard there might be a few future lawyers there and maybe future elected officials as well. So I'd like to thank them for being here. They're here with their assistant principal, Brenda Morton. I have a certificate that will be presented afterwards to each one of them and to the high school in recognition of what they have accomplished and hope that they will continue to accomplish as they move forward in their academic careers. So thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy your rest of the day at the City Hall.
Thank you for being here. Returning now to council discussion, item number 7, Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the council, I want to lend my voice of acknowledgement to those students from Venice who have achieved academic standing at that level, and nor have they been tardy or absent for 6 consecutive semesters. That's not only impressive, that's rather intimidating, I have to tell you. I think they deserve another round of applause. That's all right. Mr. President, members of the council, this is a great day once again in the city of Los Angeles. A lot has come together, and I want to take this opportunity to ask those who are here to support the forward movement of Malton Square. If they would be kind enough to stand, those who are here, those who are not able to speak, would you stand so that we can recognize the community of interest supporting this project? We appreciate your presence today. It has been properly noted that the concern about the development of this parcel, 22 acres, predates my being the council person for this particular part of the city. In fact, it predates my being elected to the council itself. It is evidence of the commitment, the drive, the determination, the temerity of a community that refuses to give up when they know that there is something that can and should be done that will enhance the quality of life for the immediate area and far beyond. This is essentially why you see the level of consensus that has been brought together with the range of stakeholders, tenants, those who are property owners, those who are religious leaders, those who are long-term civil rights, civic leaders of high standing in the city of Los Angeles and well beyond. You see a CAC volunteering thousands of hours literally over this period of time to cause something to happen that will distinguish this area and by extension the entire city of Los Angeles. Make no mistake about it, Santa Barbara Plaza has garnered the attention of the state and beyond. In travels, it has been called to my attention that this project is on the radar screen. And it would seem to me that this city council, having done the level of due diligence that we now know, can make a significant step forward for both economic development and economic justice. I want to acknowledge the work of the chair of the Economic Development Committee, Eric Garcetti, for what he has done to bring forward, the chair of the Housing and Community Development Committee, Wendy Gruhl, and the balance of persons who have done the lifting that they have done to try to say yes to Malton Square. It is to be noted that a significant risk has been taken. Why? Because of the complexity of this deal. 37 property owners, 200 some odd tenants, and Capital Vision Equity and Keyshawn Johnson Development Corporation, along with the lead company, and others have stepped up to say this is a project that can be done, will be done. We will take a risk to grow, develop, and cause the level of prosperity to take root in the Baldwin Hills, Crenshaw community broadly defined. And so this is a public-private partnership, members of the council, one of which we can be proud. I rise simply to ask that you take stock of the possibilities that are before us today, and I urge you at once to unanimously adopt the proposal that is before us to move economic development to a new level in this community by supporting the Malton Square project. I thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Rudy Thomas. Members, we have next Councilmember Garcetti, followed by Councilmember Perry, Ms. Galanter, Ms. Misikowski, Mr. Zion, Mr. Pacheco, Mr. Weiss, and now Ms. Gruhl. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you to the members of the community that are here again. I know some of you have many of you have come down now 2 times on this project, but certainly have worked on this many more days than just 2, and that this reflects, as Mr. Ridley Thomas put it, a community that has for too long waited for economic development at this location. And this will be something that is larger when it moves forward than just one location. It will continue to be a spur for the entire area and for the entire city. And as strongly as one community has waited and one neighborhood has waited for this, it's something that the entire city has waited for, because we are all one city and we will all prosper from this. I want to thank the commitment of the community first. Secondly, that of the leadership of Mark Ridley Thomas in being as tenacious as anybody else and making sure that this was not forgotten about. And I also want to praise this mayor, because we had a mayor who stepped up and said that this was his #1 economic development priority in the city of Los Angeles, that he said that this was something that he was willing to fight for. It's something that he and his staff worked very hard on cobbling together when it was extremely complex, and worked with our staffs to make sure that that would move forward. I also want to praise my staff, Josh Kamensky, my chief of staff as well, Rich Llewellyn, for their work, their hard work on this, and it's been a pleasure collaborating with the fellow council members like Wendy Gruhl on this too. There are 2 amendments that are before us, one which is offered by Mr. Ridley Thomas and seconded by Councilmember Gruhl and myself, and one which is a technical amendment which I've put forward with Mr. Ridley Thomas's second. The technical amendment is self-explanatory. The amending motion gets to the heart of one small fraction of how we pay for this, and sets up a system so that this city hopefully can find a source of funding, whether it's from the tax increment in the project area, whether it's the taxes generated there in that area, whether it's the profit sharing that the city has on the development, that we will go there before we go to the community development block grant money pool, which is already overextended, already overstretched, and I think that this is something we've worked with the mayor's office to put together, with Councilmember Ridley Thomas, Councilmember Gruhl, and I would urge your support on that as well. It also looks at the next 2 years in ways that the city administrative officer can come up with ways to reimburse the CDBG money that will be up front in the first 2 years, and after that we'll have a system for other sources of money. Sorry for all the technical speak, but I think it's very critical that that be in there. Lastly, this is a development which is not perfect. There never is a development that is perfect, but this is something that is the right project to do. We will get 2 more looks, final looks at this. Both the EDE committee and the CRA board will get a look at the final agreement, but we need to move this along with post-haste, and we need to make this because it will provide for a more prosperous city, a safer city, and will also go a long way to addressing the justice issues that we've just talked about and not acted on for too long. I urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Chair recognizes Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'm proud and pleased and excited to stand up on behalf of this project, and I am hopeful that my colleagues will join me in showing our colleague who's soon to depart to Sacramento the professional respect of approving it, as well as he has labored long and hard to make sure that all stakeholders in the community's interest have been protected. I just returned from New York, where we took a team of people from Los Angeles to promote investment in Los Angeles. One of the issues that was raised was a concern about South Los Angeles and whether South Los Angeles had also recovered since 1992. I indicated that this project was on the verge of moving forward because the city had made a commitment to all people throughout the city to create sustainable economic development. That was a concern that resonated with those people in the room, so that they were inspired enough to follow up, to want to come to Los Angeles and take a look at not just downtown, not just the west side, but also South Los Angeles. And I'm hopeful that once this project is approved, that we can take this type of project and move it further south and further east. And I also want to say on behalf of the developer, there aren't a lot of developers who are willing to come into South Los Angeles and do this kind of project. Anybody who tells you anything else obviously doesn't know the terrain of economic development in South Los Angeles. So I hope that you will join me in supporting this project today.
Ms. Galanter.
Thank you. I would first like to say to my friends in the audience whom I haven't seen for a while, it's really nice to see you again, and it's such a relief to me, as it is to you, to see you here for the occasion of our actually getting something done on this project. As a number of you mentioned, this has been a long time in the making. I think it predates my tenure on the council as well. But certainly early in my tenure in 1987, I met with some of the people you saw here today on these very same issues. And we have struggled all that time. I want to congratulate Mr. Ridley Thomas on pulling this off, particularly pulling it off before he leaves so that he will know that it's done. But I want to say a couple of things about the whole area. First of all, this is a community. This is not we have to be careful not to generalize about South Los Angeles, just as we should be careful not to generalize about the Valley or the West Side or the East Side. The fact is there are many, many different neighborhoods throughout the parts of our city that are south of the 10 freeway. And one of my early requests from some of the same people you see here was to take note of the fact that the neighborhood we now call Baldwin Village needed to have its name changed in order to reflect the fact that the jungle didn't mean what people thought it meant. It actually came from when it was jungle foliage. And to recognize, as a number of us talked about in 1990, that this area around Santa Barbara Plaza and around the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall is actually almost more like West Los Angeles than it is like South Los Angeles, with the notable exception that we have not seen the same interest by the development community and the investment community until now. I'm very proud of the fact that the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall, which was all planned before I got there, went up during my tenure, and Deacon Alexander, I'm sure, will remember that we had to send people out every day to make sure that they were indeed meeting the commitment to hire minority workers to put that mall up. As soon as the mall went up, some of the same people who are here today helped me get the Lucky's Market instead of another boys' market, and we thought that was going to be the catalyst. We were convinced that when that came in and opened 3 weeks before everything shut down, that was going to be the economic catalyst. But it wasn't enough by itself. And it is very significant that we are at a point now where finally we're going to see the rest of the job getting done. My only hope is that this is going to be a catalyst for the area further south along Crenshaw Boulevard and for the areas that go east from Crenshaw as well. I know you'll work on that. The one danger in a catalyst is that it sucks all the activity into one place and leaves the outlying part alone. We do have a new EDD building on Crenshaw and 54th, but we've not succeeded, even though it's part of the extended redevelopment area, we've not yet succeeded in reaching further along Crenshaw Boulevard, so that's your next assignment. But I certainly want to congratulate those of you who have come here again and again and again. I can only tell you that a few days ago, when I saw a photograph of somebody testifying whom I'd seen so many times, I nearly burst into tears thinking that you've had to come back so many times to get this done. But I hope today makes it worthwhile. And Mark, I want to congratulate you and everybody, Eric and Wendy and everybody else who had something to do with this. We need to get this done.
Ms. Sikowski, followed by Mr. Zion, Mr. Pacheco, Mr. Weiss, Ms. Gruhl, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Labange, and Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with a lot of what has been said here today, particularly by Mr. Ridley Thomas and Ms. Galanter, who have been working with this community for so long to get something done. This area really cries out for a redevelopment project that makes sense. The one thing that I disagree with Mr. Ridley Thomas on is that we have done our due diligence. I would like some staff to come to the table, the staff who can answer the kinds of questions when the city is about ready to embark on a project of this nature, who talks about the due diligence that has been done. Some of the questions that I have, so I don't know, I understand that the CRA staff was not involved in this process, so if the staff who did negotiate this can come forward, I would appreciate that. I believe that may be the mayor's office. Some of the questions I have, normally when we see a project like this brought forward, we have the CRA staff at the table, and they talk about that due diligence. This is a $128 million project, of which $38 million is public fund, and the remainder, 79 or so, is private financing. Normally, when the CRA comes to a table like this, they tell us that the private financing is secure. They either have a letter of credit, they have a major financial partner who can step to the table and do that. Do we have that in this case?
As far as the due diligence, this project has been researched at least since Mayor Hahn came into office, ever since the first day he came into office, in conjunction with a variety of I'd like to comment now on how helpful the staff has been from the city, from CDD, CRA, Housing Department, CAO, COA. In fact, while I am a bit new to all of this, being the first big project that I've taken to council, normally I understand that CAO and CLA need probably 2 weeks to actually do their due diligence and write their staff report. In this case, he took 6 weeks. I think because he recognized the complexity and because they wanted to make sure that the city is at no risk. As far as the financing in place, we have done a lot to make sure that the city is not at risk in this project. For instance, no public funds other than the home dollars, which will go towards a senior housing piece for which tax credits have already been awarded and the timeline is in place that puts us at risk of losing those tax credits. Obviously nothing we want to have happen. Other than the home dollars, no public funds will be expended until at least 80% of the parcels have been, or excuse me, of the entire property have been acquired. Therefore, while financing may not be entirely in place, letter of credit, though no public funds will be at risk until such time as property has been taken out, at least 80% of it, and the developer will be securing a bridge loan in order to do so.
Also, with a project of this nature, there is usually a time limit
that is put on by the city agencies saying, we're going to give you an exclusive right to do something, but you have to show either that you've got financing in place now, or you've got a reasonably short period of time to do it, so that this same property isn't tied up for a very, very long time with nothing being done because that doesn't come to place. What kind of time limit have you put on this?
Well, for instance, as I mentioned regarding the low-income housing tax credits, a portion of the site will have a 180-unit senior housing project located on it for very low-income seniors. The tax credits that were applied for, and I think there were $13.7 million of tax credits awarded to this part of the project. Those tax credits we will forego those tax credits if the developer cannot demonstrate or reach certain milestones as defined by the Tax Credit Allocation Committee within 150 days of receipt of the tax credit award, which was made maybe about 80 days ago. So there is certainly a time frame that not the city has put upon this as far as that piece of the project is concerned, but that the state has. So we already are under severe time constraints to make sure that we do not lose those very valuable tax credits, nor of course do we want to demonstrate to the state that if we receive tax credits for a project that we cannot put them to good use. So as far as that piece of the product, there is a timeline in place, once again, not put on by the city, but by the state.
On one portion of the
Yes.
senior housing. Members, my concern here is that we don't want to mislead the public again, that there is a real project, a real viable issue going on, and that we are going to hold ourselves and those who are saying that there's something out there accountable to really deliver. Because as you just indicated, there is no financial guarantee to come up with the $79 million at this point. And at the other hand, we are putting aside and holding some potential $40 million, $38 million of public money, including money that has already been committed in CDBG to other projects. So if we're going to put money aside and hold it for something else that isn't going to come in and match it in the near future, we are not only jeopardizing those projects that we had already committed some of that same money to, we are, again, leading people to a point, leading people to a conclusion that something is going to be done, when, unlike every other project that CRA has brought here, when they have those letters of credit, where they have that financial backing, we don't have it in place in this project. And that is unusual, that is different, that is sort of saying, trust me. And I think everyone here wants to trust everyone else, but it's not real, it's not viable at this time, and I think we should shed light on that.
If I may respond, there are a couple of issues I'd like to respond to on that. There are a number of pieces that are all ready to fall in place together. There are many of the potential tenants have expressed interest in the project, letters of interest. For instance, Magic Johnson, Irvin Magic Johnson, and his group related to, in their relationship with 24 Hour Fitness. And other establishments in the retail portion, they're looking to make commitments. The developer has purchase option agreements with the vast majority, I believe, upwards of 80 or so % of the property owners on the site. So those purchase option agreements are in place. And in fact, the developer is an owner himself of one or more of the parcels on the site. The private financing is ready to come in. What we are doing here today is not actually allocating those funds, but approving the financing mechanisms in concept, so that we as a city lend certainty to the developer and his financing partners. So with your approval today of the variety of financing sources for this project, with that approval today, the rest of the pieces will move into place.
Mr. Kellis, you just said that private financing is ready to come in. Where is it ready to come in from?
The developer has negotiated bridge loan agreements with a variety of partners, one of them being Regency Capital, which is a reputable and I believe publicly traded company that has deeper pockets than needed for this project.
And we have commitments up front, or is this again just discussion and it looks good that it might happen?
There are not commitments up front.
There are not commitments up
But
front.
once again, what you are doing today with what is before you is not, you are not going to be tying up dollars. You are not actually committing dollars. You're committing the financing process. There's still the matter of the OPA agreement, the owner participation agreement, to negotiate and execute for this project. And at that point, there will be those commitments in place.
And so your expectation is that condition number 7 here, which sends this back to the Community Redevelopment Agency to do that negotiation, to do those discussions, within 60 days, there will either be things that are ready to be firm, ready to be hard, ready to have people standing at that podium who say, I represent this financial interest, that financial interest, and we have signed those letters of commitment, that's what we expect to happen in those 60 days, and or if not, then there is a different course or different action that would be taken on this property?
As long as the city staff, and we'll work very hard to make sure that city staff responds in a timely manner to all requests from the developer and vice versa, we expect to have those conditions in place.
Thank you. Mr. Kowski. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I remember as a young child born and raised in the city, used to go down to a Save-On in that area, and I remember how that community, when I worked with the LAPD, went through a lot of changes, and those changes obviously weren't for the better, but for the worse. And I look at Atlanta, that took an inner city area, revitalized it, and turned it into a thriving environment. And I look at the same prospect here with this development to turn this into something very positive for the community as far as residential, senior, and also the business environment. And I've been down there a number of times, and I've seen it deteriorate. I went by the Urban League office recently. I attended a funeral service in that area, and I traveled and saw the building, John Mack, in your area down there. And I look at what we want to do with this community to revitalize it, to bring it back to life, to help the economy, to help the jobs, et cetera. And I look at my whole focus of let's invest in the inner city. Let's invest where we already have the infrastructure. Let's improve what's already there. And I've heard the speakers this morning. I haven't heard people opposing this project. There may be a concern regarding the financing, where it's going to come from, how it's going to be floated year to year. But I think if we continue to ignore it, it's like cancer. It continues to spread. And as we continue to have more of our inner city deteriorate and fall apart, and we can't put a Staples on every corner, we can't build new restaurants in every corner, we've got to keep the commerce moving in that environment, in that city. So I support this project, but I look at a project adjoining my area that we're adamantly opposed to called Amundsen, where they want to take the urban sprawl, and my focus is let's take our city where we have an infrastructure, where we have all of the necessary components to make government work, to make it deliver the services for the community of Los Angeles, and invest in that and revitalize this. And this revitalization will not only impact that particular section of Los Angeles, but hopefully it will spread to other areas. I know there's been failed projects in the past, but my wish and my hope and my vote will be that this project will be the betterment of this community and the betterment of Los Angeles, including those elements of the San Fernando Valley that say, yes, we need housing, yes, we need to help the economy, but let's invest where we already have an area, where we have the roads, where we have the lights, where we have the infrastructure, and improve on that for the benefit of the community. So I will support this, and I congratulate Councilmember Thomas, Councilmember Galanter. I know there were some negotiations worked out, and to see the Speaker of the Assembly down here, Herb Weston, it also impresses me the urgency and the importance of this project. So I'll cast my vote for a yes, and people may say, well, why are you supporting something that doesn't help the Valley? This will help the Valley eventually. This will help all of Los Angeles.
Mr. Pacheco.
Mr. President, colleagues, and to members of the audience who were there last week at the subcommittee, or the committee, the joint committee meeting on this issue, I just wanted to publicly thank the committee chairs, Wendy Gruhl, Eric Garcetti, and for working with the mayor's office to really bring together a funding package that, if anyone remembers from that meeting, that includes everybody's money in this project, not just poor people's money. This is a project that we all support, we all believe in. I've said that since day one, and I just want to commend the chairs for working this out, and the amended motion looks great. I want to commend Mr. Ridley Thomas for bringing that forward, and obviously, let's move this forward today. Thank you.
Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues, and I rise in support of the measure. And I want to I hope you all grant me this indulgence, because there are not too many more opportunities I'm going to get to say in this chamber, thank you, Mark Ridley Thomas. And thank you also to Eric Garcetti, because of your abiding interest in how we address poverty and housing issues holistically and globally in this city. I know you and Councilmember Gruhl got together and really hashed out a funding mechanism here which everybody can live with and everybody appreciates and everybody can be on the same page with. And that's what you've done, and what you've done with our leader over here, Mr. Ridley Thomas, is you've forged consensus. And I think that says a lot, even though we're going to miss you and we're going to miss you very soon. That says a lot about the future of this council, the future of our ability to work together. So thank you and congratulations. I want to say that I've been assured by everybody involved in this process that this project, however you slice it and dice it, and you've sliced and diced it, Deputy Mayor Kevles, for us, will not have a general fund impact. It's not supposed to have a general fund impact now. General fund monies are not part of the financing package that you have described, Mr. Kevles, and there is no intent in the future to impact the general fund. There's no intent to look at the general fund. Other programs are being looked at, and I'm going to support this today based on those representations and based on that understanding. And I want to applaud all of you who've been involved in it for making that understanding a reality. So thank you all for that, and once again, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mr. President.
Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to add my comments to Jack mentioning and Eric as well, and Ruth Galanter about the leadership of Mark Ridley Thomas on this project. This is a project that a community desperately needs. As I was talking to Councilmember Ridley Thomas, I remember this project when I worked for Tom Bradley 20 years ago. As I said, I'm still only 29, so I must have been just a youngster. But it was a project that has always struggled to come to fruition. And nothing's ever perfect. We don't ever have all of the money we would like to have to make these projects go. But this is what our Community Development Block Grant funds are utilized for, economic development in neighborhoods that are important. It's been a long time coming. And this is particularly a project that is important to the South Central community, just as Valley Plaza and Foothill Boulevard and Commerce Avenue is in my district, key revitalization areas that many of us have in our neighborhoods. So, this is really not a zero-sum game. Today we're helping South Central, tomorrow we're helping the San Fernando Valley. And I think that we have taken a long time. Like I said, it's been a project that was a vision for Tom Bradley about having Santa Barbara Plaza, now Marlton Square, become a reality. And I know he's up there smiling that today we are going to be able to take a big step towards making that project a reality. So I look forward to our passage today, to our continued review, some of the questions that Councilmember Misikowski asked and others, that this is a project that will continue to be on our radar screen, one that we will ensure funds are being spent in the direction we want, and to lessen the take of CDBG wherever possible. So just wanted to stand and support, and again, congratulate Councilmember Mark Ridley Thomas and my colleague Eric Garcetti, who's taken a strong leadership role on this issue as well. Thank you.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I rise to support this project. I want to thank the leadership of my colleagues who have been performing that stewardship of getting it to this point, all the respective chairmen of persons of these committees, and Councilmember Ridley Thomas and Councilmember Ruth Galanter for bringing it to light, knowing she adopted it from someone else. Who that person was, we're not sure yet. But bottom line is, as I look at the funding package, I look at the scenario here, I'm hoping that with the mayor's support, that we start looking at those environmentally friendly techniques and support systems that talk about how we make this efficient from a environmental point of view, how we look at this as a green spot, how we look at the stormwater runoff, and actually go after funds that help look at support mechanisms that will deal with the gap and over time lessen our focus on block grant so that we can use those funds for the programs that we need to address as it gets tighter and tighter over the years. So my comments are based on my intention to work as a team with the mayor's office and my colleagues, because as the funds dwindle, we're going to have more people at that podium telling us how they're going to be hurting because of the evaporation of federal block grant funds. So it behooves us to look at those kinds of programs that deal with environmental issues and perhaps have alternative funding sources that achieve the Department of Water and Power's economic development goals, look at what the state has to offer in their programs, make these efficient buildings, expand the LEEDS programs and how we make those kinds of structures reliant on recyclable materials, and just go down that road. That's one element I didn't see in the reports. I didn't get a chance because it didn't come to committees, but that would have been the kind of observation would have made. But knowing that we wanted to make sure that we gave our colleague the grand send-off and making sure this project gets done, I appreciate our efforts. Thank you very much.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. I just want to salute Ruth Galanter because I like what all the public said. I like that all the public said, Ruth Galanter, thank you for what you've done in the past. And it's nice to hear because sometimes any road that we take is a long journey and it takes a long time to get to a point. And Ruth was there in the beginning, and now Mark took that baton and kept running harder and faster. He ran real fast the last several months. So I want to congratulate Mark for doing this too, but I want to thank the people for coming down. I like the mixed-use concept. I love all of Los Angeles, and this part of Los Angeles, this is an energizing force, which should be done. But the mixed use and the senior housing in Southwest Los Angeles, right? Southwest, not South Central, Southwest Los Angeles. So to clarify that. But Miss Mayberry, I'm sorry, Miss Mayberry, said a wonderful point. How people leave the community and go to Santa Monica, Culver City, Inglewood, which are all fine cities, Pasadena, but they don't spend their money in the neighborhood because there's nothing to spend their money in the neighborhood on. So what a wonderful point, Ms. Mayberry, that you spoke of. I'd never think that any part of Southwest Los Angeles will be like Mayberry, just with you. You know, that's just you. But this is a wonderful project, and what a great day to bring it in on a Friday when the Santa Ana winds are blowing. And it's a real good day to say, hey, this is a project that we move ahead on. I think it will provide great enhancement for the community. So I want to rise and thank everybody who has been involved and the stakeholders, the people who are doing the development. It's so important to take a chance. Then we, as council members, all members there, if you could hold for a second, Ms. Hahn, I know you're next, Ms. Hahn, on the queue. We as council members have to work with all the economic development to make sure it's successful, to make sure the community infrastructure around there is successful, the public safety complement is successful, the cultural affairs complement is successful to add to this development. So I wanted to stand to congratulate it and voice my support and thank everyone for their participation down here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Chair recognizes Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I, too, want to rise in support of where we have gotten to today. And certainly, Mark Ridley Thomas, we are proud of you seeing this through. And for a little history, you know, this was my stomping grounds as a young girl. And I and my mother would shop here many times at the old May Company across the street and the old Broadway. I bought my high school prom right there where the Baldwin Hills Mall is now. And Mark and I actually got to know each other in 1988 when I worked at the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza as it was being built. and Mark was the executive director of SCLC. And so this is really a fitting, I believe, end to where we both started. And I think for the longest time, this Santa Barbara Plaza, this Marlton Square, was something that the community really wanted to see developed. The Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Plaza, many people objected to that. They thought it would never work. They thought it would never be successful. And yet it really is a successful regional mall. And this will only add to the redevelopment of that entire area. And it's what not only just this community deserves, but certainly all of Los Angeles needs to begin really redeveloping many of our long forgotten neighborhoods and communities so that as a whole we can really be returned to the luster that Los Angeles knew in the 50s and the 60s. So this is a great project, and it certainly is a project that the financing was key, and I really want to applaud the mayor's office and all of the financial partners who agreed to step up to the plate on this. But as Councilwoman Miskowski said, you know, we have to make sure that as we move forward, we are holding everybody accountable every step of the way, because frankly, this still needs people to believe in it and invest in it. I look at the almost $5 million we're counting on through the Mello-Roos bonds. I mean, that's not a done deal. Anybody that knows anything about how Mello-Roos bonds are issued knows that there's a whole process we have to go through, and it may not work out. And people who would want to invest in those very Mello-Roos bonds also will determine whether or not that's going to be marketed. But those investors are going to look at how everything else is being invested in and how accountable everything else about this project is. So it still really depends on us holding people accountable. It depends on all of us still believing in it. And it really depends on us convincing those investors that this is an important project that needs to go. So Mark, good job.
Thank you.
I'm happy to support this project today, but this is not the end, and we must continue to believe in it and continue to make it happen for everyone in Los Angeles. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Holden.
Couple of questions. Negotiated OPA. What time have you established that it will return to the council for consideration?
I believe that it's stated in the CLA report within 60 days.
I didn't see that.
It's in the report.
If
I'm
it's in the
I'm looking at the CLA folks who wrote it over there.
It's so stated 60 days?
Is that correct, Paul?
So
yes.
All right. So then that will be the 10th of the body, if that's the case. Next question. What happens to the current tenants? I know you're talking about relocation. Do they have the first right of return? I mean, tell me something about what happens to the tenant who's not there in business.
Well, of course, Councilman, all of redevelopment law will be strictly adhered to regarding tenant relocation. The developer has been in sometimes daily, at least weekly discussions with many, if not all, of the current tenants and property owners about their future, be it their monetary future and or their locational future. I can't speak to each of those, but all of those issues are being tended to and cared to with the proper diligence.
I raised the question because that's the same response, I'm sure, was given to Golden Bird when the Crenshaw Plaza was negotiated with the developer, and now we have the Crenshaw Plaza. And what it did, it took away a successful business from our community, and then it gave it to a developer. And then the developer required that they pay a certain amount of rent on the building that they previously owned. And they were not properly compensated for their business or their property that they owned. And so Golden Bird went down the tubes, and nobody was here to protect them. The developer was giving $60 million. And some tricky language in a motion that was subsequently adopted, which I voted against, they gave the $60 million, the grant to the developer. And then the developer takes it and sells the project to a New York firm. Ms. Harm was there. And so it's a gift of public funds under the guise of doing a good project for the community. Institutional memory. Let me just say this. I know Ms. Galante talked about what she's done, but we had a project being considered called IKEA more than 11, 12 years ago. That could have been in that area, jobs would have been provided, and the council person, along with the other members, I didn't go along with that, voted against that project coming to that area for whatever reasons, and killed the project. Now, I'm glad that somebody still have interest. When the reapportionment came, that portion was put into my district. And for 3 months, I set aside time to protect the tenants, and they would not be inconvenienced or have their business destroyed as it was in the earlier development for Crenshaw Plaza. You see, these things can be written in all tricky ways, and people say nice things, and who's in bed with you today with you, the same different people. It's political. Then, good project today if we can fund it. The question is, we have to find the funds. If we change the policy or introduce a waiver where the policy is changed, what happened to the 2 projects in my district? Pico Plaza, La Brea, Adams. Those developers then say, this is the policy of the city, and we want the same kind of benefits. For our projects, it's providing for this. As the policy changed in CD 13, Mr. Garcetti's district, when you had that development over there in Hollywood, and every other developer pulled back and say, I want the same consideration. Now, we are making a policy change on the block grant money today.
Mr. Holden?
And if we are going to do that, then let that be the policy, because those 2 development projects in my district, and I got to think about my district also, are going to come back, Ms. Thomas knows that, and ask for the same benefits. Because they've been holding out. I can push my button again if it's okay. Since the last speaker, I'll just take another 30 seconds.
Your time is over.
I'll take another 30 seconds. Mr. Bernstein, will you let him give me 30 seconds?
Please conclude, Mr. Holden.
All right.
Time to move on.
I just want the public to know. They were not here then to protect Golden Bird. They were not there then to say, don't give that $60 million to that developer. Mr. Hahn, you were there, right?
I was there.
That's right. They were not here then to say, bring IKEA into our community because we needed it then. It was denied and deprived of those benefits then. We'll support it now. But I'm telling you, didn't see you. So I'm going to vote for this. But I'm going to tell you, when my project comes up, in my district, I want the same consideration from my colleagues, and it'll serve you as well, and I want you down here to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Mr. President, I move the previous question on the entire matter.
Thank you very much. You are the final speaker. We're prepared to vote now. Mr. Clerk, we have at least one amending motion.
There are 2 amending motions before you. The first amending motion, 7A, is put forward by Councilman Ridley Thomas, and the second one is put forward by Councilmember Garcetti.
Okay. Let's take the second one first. I believe that's 7B, described as technical in nature. Please open the roll on amending motion 7B. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Now we proceed to amending motion 7A by Mr. Ridley Thomas. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
And now, members, let's open the roll on item number 7 as amended.
Urgent aye vote.
Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.
Approved.
Forthwith to the mayor, please.
Mr. Clerk, forthwith, please. I believe that brings us back to the presentations portion of our agenda. Ms. Misikowski, did you have an additional presentation? Ms. Misikowski. Mr. Pacheco. Ms. Misikowski? Okay, no additional presentations. For our next presentation, Mr. Pacheco.
Good morning, Mr. President and colleagues. I want to welcome to the Chambers the Hollenbeck Volunteer Patrol Program, which was established in 1995. The program is comprised of community members from the Hollenbeck area. Volunteers perform a variety of duties and work various community events and participate in details such as the curfew sweeps, the graffiti observation post, parades, and the Hollenbeck Youth Territory giveaway are just examples. We've been working with them and with Captain Pesquera in the Hollenbeck area. They are the first volunteer group in the city of Los Angeles to have a complete uniform. A pilot program has recently been implemented in which the volunteers will be in the community working in a citizen patrol capacity. Again, another first in LAPD history. The main task for this force will be to be combating graffiti in the area by locating it and reporting it to the proper removal services like Homeboy Industries, which works to do graffiti removal in our area. With training, expansion of the program will increase the duties and responsibilities of the volunteer patrol and provide not only the Hollenbeck officers support, but the entire Boyle Heights community and Hollenbeck area community. Today with us are the volunteers, Kathy Armenta, Frank Wada, Daniel Rivas, Vanessa Nunez, Abel Crespo, Nadia Romero, Fausto Valle, Catalina Barrera, Veronica Barrera. The coordinator, an individual, the officer who works with the program is Officer Jorge Gonzalez. The assistant coordinator is Officer Padilla. I want to tell you that we're very proud of their work in the Hollenbeck Division, but most importantly, as we read in the newspapers and as we look at the issue of 12,000 police officers, as Chief Braden seems to be seeking, I tell you that we have a responsibility and a role to think outside the box and bring more and more creative solutions to the need for patrolling and vigilance in the community against crime. And so on that, I would like to commend and give a certificate of recognition to the Hollenbeck Police Department Volunteer Patrol Program. Officer Gonzalez and Officer Padilla. Thank you. George, going to speak? Okay.
They always give it to me. Council members, on behalf of the volunteer program of Hollenbeck and Captain Pesquera, I'd like to thank everyone for this recognition, especially Councilman Pacheco for his support in putting this program together. And hopefully, we'll do our best to improve the conditions around the Hollenbeck area and throughout the city if possible. Thank you.
Mr. President, colleagues, I would just like to thank you all also because at one point we were able to receive a donation of an automobile and you passed the motion accepting that donation. And we also want to tell you that I worked closely with them to make sure they were funded for these uniforms. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Mr. Clerk, there's a special request. Might we proceed to that? Oh,
Yes,
sorry. Just for a moment here. There are persons needing to be heard. Mr. Burnson, Mr. Labange, in that order, please, for a presentation. Burnson, you're 5.
Okay.
And he's 6.
Open this thing up.
Ruth, come on up here, Ruth.
Thank you, sir.
You get a double run.
Members of the council, it's not every day that we get to present two resolutions to one individual, but this is a very special individual. This is Ruth Richter. I think that she didn't get her resolution for her birthday, 80th birthday, at a special event the other day because
I was there.
you were there, my staff was there, but somebody forgot to
Yeah, they did.
to bring the resolution. So we're going to give her this today for her 80th birthday. That's number one, Ruth. That's just the tip of the iceberg, folks. For 80 years, Ruth has been causing problems in the San Fernando Valley. She's been involved in the community in just about every aspect that you could ever imagine. Ruth and I go back to the old Valley-wide Transportation Streets and Highways Commission, which I hate to tell you how many years ago where that was, but it was in the early 60s, wasn't it, Ruth? Or maybe even a little 50s, okay. But what happened a couple weeks ago is something really unique in the Fernando Award being made. For many, many years, the Fernando Award was strictly a good old boys club, and women were not even considered, basically, for this award. I know Ruth has been nominated many times. I know I've nominated her a number of times. I thought she deserved it way, way, way back. Finally, the Fernando group finally did the right thing, and Ruth was the winner of the Fernando Award for this year. And long past due, but I want to extend the congratulations of first the City Council and our colleagues from the San Fernando Valley. I might add, Ruth hasn't slowed down a bit. She has served as a City Commissioner. She currently chairs the 12th District Streets, Highways, and Transportation Citizens Advisory Committee and stays involved with all of the chamber activities in her community, in the Winnetka community. So Ruth, it's with great pleasure that I present this to you. It's been a long time coming, but it's here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay? Yeah. No, I don't mind to say a couple words.
I just want to add my congratulations to Ruth. There was a birthday party at the Corbin Bowl for Ruth. The Winnetka.
He was in Corbin with Canoga.
Canoga. Oh, I'm sorry, Canoga. What did I say, Corbin?
Yeah.
Corbin. I mean, anyway. In Winnetka. It was in your community. And it was a nice birthday celebration for Ruth. What do I do now? Oh, we're going to take a picture? Ruth has been, believe it or not, a motorcycle lady for many, many years. And we rib each other all the time. She is a BMW motorcycle dealer. She sells BMW motorcycles. And she's always ribbed me because I ride the other motorcycle, the Harley Davidson. She's been a supporter for law enforcement. Many of the officers stop by her shop for coffee. The Highway Patrol officers take their motorcycles in for service. And she has been in the San Fernando Valley of Winnetka for many, many, many years, member of all the community groups that do good for the community. And I was very honored to be at your birthday party, also to be at the Fernando Award, where you received the award this year. And many, many more years of happiness, many more years of success. And it's hard to believe that Ruth Richter is 80 years age. She drives a BMW, not a motorcycle, but she drives a BMW, and she drives like she's a race car driver at 80 years of age. God bless you, Ruth. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Ruth and I are new friends as the last couple of years, but she has been an incredible force in the San Fernando Valley, and I love the fact that you are a motorcycle woman. She said she went on the Love Ride last week, so I missed that, or she was the Love Ride. She spreads a lot of love, Jenna says, but she's been extraordinary. I'm so pleased that she won the Fernando Award, that she continues to be a strong voice in the San Fernando Valley and a strong woman in the San Fernando Valley. So I just wanted to add my congratulations and congratulate Hal Burnson for being so insightful to recommend her for many years to get this Fernando Award. But we're very proud of you and glad you're here today. Thank you.
Any other Valley members want to say anything? You're not, are you a Valley member? Okay.
I think on the speaker,
LeBron, and Mr. Holden is a honorary Valley
Mr.
councilman.
Holden has pushed his button to speak, so let me recognize Mr. Holden.
I'm
Secessionist.
strictly a Valley person.
Secessionist.
That's right, and I am in charge over there. Ruth Richter.
I had no.
She and I served on the RTD Board of Directors not too many moons ago. But I must tell you, I never worked with and associated with an individual who did their homework, certainly not any more qualified than Ruth. She was always on the job, doing a good job for transportation. That time, when we had it, was doing a good job. Am I right, Ruth? Now look at it. And Hal is in charge of it now. But when you were in charge of it, it was a moving organization.
It's doing a pretty good job now.
But Ruth, congratulations once again on all your endeavors, all your accomplishments. You've done so much for this city, both in the Valley and here. We all love you. God bless you and continue.
Labange has 10 seconds.
Oh, no, Ruth, I got 10 seconds, but there's not 10 seconds to say, but you're an angel in the city of angels. Congratulations. Happy birthday for all you've done for so many people. Congratulations on the Fernando Road.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. You get a shot, Butcher. Get in there.
Let's pull these up. Pull these up.
We'll take these in back. We'll do a picture in back.
Congratulations, Ruth. Thank you.
Ruth, now it's your turn.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. I couldn't do it without the support of all of you, because I need something, I find something be done, I can call any one of you. Cindy, more recently, I shouldn't say this probably in public, but when Cindy's husband was in college, he was doing an internship in transportation in Mayor Bradley's office, and I had he and about 4 of his friends that I still see pretty often, but they were great college kids, and I'm sure a great asset to everybody now.
That explains a lot of things, right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ruth.
Let's go back. Come on.
Congratulations on a well-deserved reward. The Chair, I now recognize Councilmember Gruhl. Is Councilmember Gruhl ready for a presentation?
Jay? Thank you, Madam President. Many of you may have read today in the LA Times and others about the Housing Trust Fund Advisory Committee's recommendations. This is a group of people appointed by the mayor who really have worked night and day, literally, to come forward in an expeditious manner with recommendations that are going to help guide us on the Housing Trust Fund. I want to particularly commend Mike Feuer, who unfortunately had to leave, but really was the leader and chair of this organization, and I think kept a tight ship and reminded people of timelines and dates. And those of you in the City Council probably remember his activities and behavior the same way here when he was in City Council. I'd also like to acknowledge the subcommittee chairs, Ken Ashford, Jan Breidenbach, David Grunwald, Robin Hughes, and Barbara Zeidman for their hard work. As I indicated, they set an ambitious timeline for themselves by meeting once a week and even on a daily basis, and they were able to stick with it. I've read the report and extraordinarily impressed with the committee's recommendations. They recognize the interrelationship between homelessness, the need for affordable housing, and the dream of home ownership. They really strike a balance between the need of more rental housing and giving the dismal rates of our home ownership, the need for more home ownership in the city. And yesterday we were with the Gonzalez family. Ed Reyes was there, Councilwoman Janice Hahn was there, and Councilmember Eric Garcetti, who was vice chair of my committee, I know was there in spirit. And we found this family who was so excited about having a home and their children about having a yard to play on. And that's what this task force and this Housing Trust Fund is all about. So I want to thank them all for their time and effort. And we have 2 public hearings, one on Monday in the San Fernando Valley and the other in Los Angeles on December 3rd. And we encourage all of you listening to attend those public hearings, to comment on the report and talk about housing in the city of Los Angeles. I'd like to present this Housing Trust Advisory Committee proclamation to, I think, I'm not sure who I'm supposed to present this to Barbara? Okay. If Mike was here, yes, one of the committee chairs, and make sure we acknowledge all the people behind us. I had a list to make sure I don't forget anyone. Of course, Neela Bell, Dennis Sullivan, see, Tim McConnell over here. Yep, Jay Stark, Jeff Lee, Lisa. And I know I met you yesterday for the first time. Bon. How could I forget Bon from Acorn? So I would like to, we have individual proclamations for each of them, but wanted to present you with this Housing Trust Advisory Committee proclamation. And maybe if my co-chair or Eric Garcetti would come up, we'd love to have you present it as well. And extend our thanks for your hard work. And just to let you know, your work is not done. We expect you to help in implementation and as we move forward here in the City Council. So I'd like for all of you to give a great big hand and thanks and appreciation for the individuals standing behind me and those that couldn't be here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Barbara.
Thank you. Miss Barbara, before you say, Mr. Garcetti had pushed his button to speak. I don't know, Eric, if you would like to say something from the podium.
I'll be very brief. Congratulations. Each time we have a victory, we know we have one more step up to go, and I think you've laid the groundwork in your blueprint and your recommendations. I'm sorry I was out of town on business yesterday and couldn't be with you, but that blueprint that you put forward will really be your legacy. I look forward to hearing from you as individuals what particular mixes you might have in mind for the housing as well, percentages, but we know that we have a real consensus here for the first time, and this is really extraordinary. I wanted to also thank Ed Zola, who a friend of mine who served on this as well, for adding his input and expertise as well. But congratulations to you all.
The chair now recognizes Councilmember Reyes.
Thank you very much.
Oops, Ed Reyes is going to say something.
Thank you, Madam President.
Hurry up, Red.
I just wanted to say thank you, Barbara. As a person who I've worked with for some time when you used to work with the Housing Department, I know you know the city very well. All the individuals here, Enterprise Foundation, Acorn, everyone that has put together their perspective on how we can enhance home ownership and stabilize our communities. As you know, in District 1, close to 80% are renting their homes. In the city of LA, I believe we're close to 50%. Is it 46, 48? It's up there. So bottom line is we're going to stabilize our communities. We need to be able to achieve these kinds of tools that allows people to invest in their homes, in their block, in their communities. So very fundamental issue. Thank you for all your great work. And with these kinds of efforts, I know we can continue to improve this city. So thank you so much for your great work.
Thank you, Ed.
All right,
On behalf of the advisory committee, thank you for allowing us to be of service to our community. We are a very diverse group. We represented many different points on the continuum of opinion, but we took our lessons from you. We know that when you pass laws and ordinances that affect the life of the city, you must do so with the perspective of all the people who must be served. So what you have is a document that represents not only the best professional thinking of this group, but the true spirit of compromise and accommodation that is going to be necessary for us to move forward. It is an extraordinarily daunting task, and we urge you to move forward quickly. But we want you to know we are not asking you to do it alone. We bring with us the voices of our various communities, of our various interests to say, we want to be your partners, we want to help you solve this problem, and we want to do it quickly. So we are here to help you get the task done and to also be your taskmaster, that the clock is ticking and we need to move forward. So thank you again for letting us be of service to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, and task force members. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Labange for a presentation.
Madam President, members of council, we have some very special people here who are celebrating their 30th anniversary in business. Please welcome Mark and Dolores Wurtzel. They operate Wurtzel Landscaping Company for over 30 years, and in their time they've done many creative things, and we recognize some of their work, including the Tribune Complex of KTLA. And we have the family here, too. Excuse me, Mom. All right, get up here. We're going to get all up here in a minute. The Tribune Building up on Sunset, the old KTLA property, also the Autry Museum and Griffith Park, Kaiser facilities throughout their complex, and various other projects throughout the county. Mark was born in Los Angeles as a native, Angelino, at the Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital, and he went to North Hollywood High School. They grew up in Studio City area and also was a member of the United States Army and served in Vietnam and is a decorated veteran. His father, Max, retired from the city of Los Angeles from the Department of Water and Power in 1981 after 31 years in the landscape area, and his craft certainly caught the fingers of his son. For all these years, he has developed a company that has over 100 professionals who are groundskeeper who are working to maintain the beauty of the landscaping at various facilities. His wife, Doris, live in a beautiful Baskin-Robbins house in the Fryman Canyon area, Studio City in the San Fernando Valley, where they have a wonderful home. And I just thought it was very important to bring them, to salute them for 30 years of landscaping beauty of what they've done, being a native Angelino, because when we beautify an area, when we say someone cares about an area, it makes an impact. And certainly, and I know from my district, when you go to the Autry Museum, you see the great work of your company that complements the great work of the city forces, albeit right now we're reconstructing the sea lion exhibit at the zoo right across the way. But that's a wonderful complement of your work throughout. So to the Wurtzel Landscape Maintenance Company, we salute Mark and Dolores Wurtzel for 30 years of great service to the people of Los Angeles and your company. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Really appreciate it. Oh, that's all right, man. You want to say a few words? You want to say a few words? Don't be shy.
Well, just thank you. I want to thank everyone here. That's my mother.
This is, your name is?
Mamie.
Mamie Wurzel.
Mamie Wurzel, we want to welcome you.
My sister Brenda.
Sister Brenda.
And her husband Jack.
Jack, and they're here, and they gave the greatest, Kanitsky. Jack, I thank you so much. Please give them another hand for 30 years of great service to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go over here and take pictures.
Oh, great.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Clerk, what's now before us?
The next item before you called special is item number 4. It's a joint meeting with the CRA Board.
All right, can we ask the CRA board members to come forward to the center table, provide the chairs that are necessary?
We do no project before it's time.
All right, members, this is a joint session of the City Council and the Board of Commissioners of the Community Redevelopment Agency. It was continued from November 6th to consider the approval and adoption of the proposed redevelopment plan for the Central Industrial Redevelopment Project. This redevelopment plan is proposed to be approved and adopted pursuant to the Community Redevelopment Law of the State of California. Will the clerk please call the roll of the City Council?
Brinson, Galanter, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Holden, Labange, Miskowski, Pacheco, Perry, Reyes, Ridley Thomas, Weiss, Sine, Padilla, 14 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
All right, would you please call the roll of the CRA?
Farrar, Wu, General Sapricio, Ornelius, Rings, Schaefer, Battle Bay.
Yes.
Mr. Wu is not present.
Okay. But a quorum is present.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. I will now call on Jerry Charlin, the administrator of the agency. Mr. Charlin, does the staff have any issues to respond to or comments made at the public hearing or in writing that have been received?
I do. A joint public hearing was held on November 6, 2002, during which public testimony was received regarding the proposed Central Industrial Redevelopment Plan. Written comments were also received regarding the redevelopment project, both in favor and in opposition to the adoption of the plan, that is, oral comments. There were 3 written objections received from affected property owners and taxing entities. On behalf of the City Council, agency staff has prepared written responses to those objectives as required by redevelopment law. These responses are presented in tab F of your report to council binder. The objections were generally based on 1, concerns about the funding of services for homeless individuals within the project area. 2, 2, concerns regarding the tax increment spending cap of the former Central Business District redevelopment project. 3, concerns regarding the timing of information and the agency's consultations with taxing entities. And 4, concerns about the findings of blight for the project area. With regard to the funding of services for the homeless in the project area, it's important to remember that since the passage of AB 1290, also known as Community Redevelopment Law Reform Act of 1993, redevelopment agencies are much more limited in how they can use tax increment funding. While the development of certain types of physical facilities may be an appropriate use of redevelopment funds and agency authority, it has become problematic to legally justify the use of redevelopment monies for ongoing social service programs or emergency shelters. AB 1290 eliminated social needs and concerns from the controlling definition of blight, in large part to make the blight criteria more objective. This is particularly important since newly adopted redevelopment plans must demonstrate how proposed projects and programs will address the specific blighting conditions in the project area. AB 1290 has limited those blighting conditions to physical and economic blight that do not include the social and individual conditions in the community or the conditions that lead to homelessness. With regard to the tax increment spending cap that was imposed on the former Central Business District redevelopment project, the agency has previously responded to the County of Los Angeles in great detail. Briefly, the spending cap does not impede the city's authority under the Community Redevelopment Law to continue its attempt to eliminate blight from the property that was formerly included in the Central Business District redevelopment project. The cap does not affect the real property itself, but rather affects the agency's ability to receive tax increment from the Central Business District redevelopment project. With regard to the timing of information and the agency's consultation with taxing agencies, with AB 1290's elimination of physical review committees, mitigation payments, and negotiated pass-through agreements, the purpose of consultation is primarily limited to assessing conditions in the project area and responding to concerns about the presence of blight conditions. The process of adopting a redevelopment plan for the Central Industrial Redevelopment Project began over 2 years ago, and taxing agencies have been given numerous opportunities during that time to assess the conditions in the project area and to consult with the agency. As to the findings of blight within the project area, the data presented in the report to Council represents a snapshot in time of the physical conditions existing in the project area. It was through the analysis of 48 separate data items collected on 1,791 parcels and 1,231 buildings that the existence of conditions of blight throughout the project area was documented. No one property was singled out. Rather, the maps of blight data included in the report to Council binder show that these conditions of blight are prevalent throughout the project area, leading to the finding the Council is asked to make today. These are some highlights of the written responses to objections. And the complete responses to all the issues raised are contained in Attachment A under Tab F of your report to Council binder. In addition to the written objections I've just mentioned, several comments were made at the public hearing regarding the need to address in greater detail issues such as affordable housing, facilities for job training and local hiring, and revitalization of the Los Angeles River. In response to these comments, agency staff has added language to the description of specific projects proposed by the agency included in the report to Council at Tab H. These revisions have been provided to you. Briefly, they address the use of affordable housing funds for extremely low income and very low income households, the provision of related supportive services where necessary and appropriate, and the preservation of existing affordable housing, including single room occupancy and other residential hotels. The revisions also provide more detailed programs for implementing the objective in the redevelopment plan regarding the revitalization of the Los Angeles River. Last but certainly not least, the revisions strengthen the agency's effort to address job training and local hiring in the project area. As a final matter, agency staff has been advised by the Los Angeles Unified School District that projections of AB 1290 payments to taxing entities for the Central Industrial Redevelopment Project included in your binder at N underestimated the amount of these payments. A review of these projections found that this resulted from the redevelopment agency's decision to increase the amount of affordable housing set-aside funds from the legally mandated minimum of 20% of net tax increment revenue to 25% of such revenue. That increase in housing set-aside funds should not have reduced the base for computing the AB 1290 payments, and therefore the calculations have been revised. As a result, the estimated AB 1290 payments to the taxing entities increased by approximately $7 million over the 45 years for receipt of tax increment, and the amount of discretionary tax increment revenue decreased by the same amount over the same time period. The projection of housing tax increment revenue was unaffected. Similarly, the estimate of non-taxing housing revenue available to fund activities under the initial 5-year implementation plan for redevelopment of the project area would be reduced by approximately $51,000. It's the opinion of Katz Hollis, the agency's fiscal consultant responsible for preparing the estimate of tax revenue included in the report to Council, that the changes in revenue estimates occasioned by the recalculation of AB 1290 payments will have no material effect on the overall feasibility of the agency's program of redevelopment for the Central Industrial Redevelopment Project. This time, I'd like to enter into the record the revised estimate of AB 1290 payments to taxing entities. Members of the City Council and Agency Commissioner, this concludes my presentation. I thank you for your consideration of this proposed redevelopment plan.
Thank you, Mr. Charlin. Now is the time for any questions from staff members or statements at this time in terms of what Mr. Charlin has just outlined. I would like to recognize Councilmember Pacheco. Do you have questions or? Okay. Ms. Perry? Okay. Are there any questions from members of the CRA?
Actually, a couple of the members have comments with respect to the changes that were made.
Okay.
Yes, I would like to thank and congratulate the agency staff and legal counsel for working so hard to make these changes around affordable housing and local hiring. I have been able to talk to some of the groups that spoke in opposition last week and who are very pleased with these changes, feel like this goes a long way to meet their concerns, and are now here in support of the proposed redevelopment plan, which I think is a very exciting development. Particularly the Downtown Women's Action Coalition, I want to thank you for working with us to make this happen.
Okay.
I would also, as chairman of the agency, like to express our appreciation to all of those civic leaders who appeared at the public hearing before and brought to our attention as commissioners some of what appeared to them to be oversights in the plan. I think in most cases those were areas where the plan was more general with respect to our goals and objectives than they would have liked. But based on their significant input, we have amended the plan to make it more specific, and we wanted to express our appreciation to them for bringing those matters to our attention, and also to our staff and especially legal counsel for incorporating them to the satisfaction of basically, I think we've achieved a real win-win here between the people who opposed the plan at the last hearing and where we are today.
Thank you, Mr. Farrar. The chair would just like to make a comment that there are 4 cards that were submitted for public comment. The public comment was heard last week and closed, but we will make these a part of the record, and they do represent some of the groups who spoke last week, and I think caused some of the changes to be made that have been mentioned. Mr. Farrar, I think now is the time for a motion.
Yes, we have several matters before our commission at this time. The first will be a resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Los Angeles, California, certifying that the agency has reviewed and considered the information contained in the final environmental impact report for the redevelopment plan for the Central Industrial Redevelopment Project, making certain findings regarding the environmental impacts of the proposed redevelopment plan, and adopting a mitigation monitoring program and statement of overriding considerations.
Moved.
There's a motion? There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? The first resolution passes. The second, a resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Los Angeles approving the redevelopment plan for the Central Industrial Redevelopment Project and the report to council thereon, and authorizing the submission of the proposed redevelopment plan and the report to council to the City of Los Angeles for action.
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The matter passes. Mr. President, members of the City Council,
She's not a mister.
Madam President, Madam President Pro Tem, and members of the City Council, the agency now submits to you the actions of the agency for your consideration in your actions to adopt the proposed Central Industrial Redevelopment Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Farrar. I would like to see if Councilmembers Pacheco or Councilmember Perry would like to say anything at this time.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I am standing here today with Mr. Pacheco in support of this plan. Last week, I made a number of comments about the significance of this plan in that it preserves our industrial base, which provides not only a high number of union jobs, but a significant number of jobs for people who are unskilled, and that is of critical importance for the districts that we represent. It is for that and for additional reasons, such as there will be no eminent domain on properties on which people lawfully reside. So people should not fear the potential for residential displacement. The new language in this plan emphasizes retention and rehabilitation of existing housing stock, as well as the previously mentioned 1,500 units through conversion of appropriate commercial and industrial buildings. And I know that Mr. Pacheco will join me in saying that this plan is critical, it is the right thing to do, and I hope that we have a unanimous vote today. And I believe that he will also join me in rising to second a number of the resolutions that will be put forth today as well.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Mr. Pacheco.
Also, colleagues, Madam President, I want to highlight our item 4A as part of this whole package is a new and reinvigorated emphasis on the Los Angeles River as a valuable resource for the City of Los Angeles. And we want to make sure that the language that was worked out with our River Committee Chair, Mr. Reyes, is a part of the entire process. So I'll make sure that when we move approval and move the resolution and ordinances, that includes item 4A. This project area is very important to us in the downtown community because, as I shared last time, that we are really looking for an opportunity to create entry-level jobs, semi-skilled jobs, and basically manufacturing jobs, because I can tell you from my own experience, and I believe Ms. Perry has the same situation where we both absorb a lot of immigrants who come here with limited skills, and this is the exact type of industry that we want to enhance in the downtown area so that we have a place where they can land and be productive contributors to our site. So I would urge your approval and support, colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. The chair recognizes Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Ring, for that clarification. I wanted to just, from the council's perspective, underscore what was said earlier, how important it was to add this language to advocates and where we have pending litigation. I think, again, it underscores that this agency, this board, this council and this committee does want to work things out, does want to make sure that we move forward in a way that is constructive, and also underscore how important it is to have those diverse perspectives at this board, and why that makes this the best CRA board we've had. We're the first one to have perfect attendance since 1996 in a meeting, I believe, 4 times straight, I believe. That's a side note. But anyway, you can jump up and say hooray for us now. But that said, when we have perspectives of folks that are advocates, folks who have worked in this, I think it is critical, because then we can bypass that very expensive process and that lengthy process of litigation. We look forward to continuing to do that. Thank you for your work.
The chair recognizes Mr. Holden.
Well, you guys are all here today, but nobody's here representing the homeless. It's my understanding, I just saw an article in the paper just yesterday where they have a homeless sweep down there down in this area. Now, my question is, talking about building houses, affordable housing for low income, etc. Anybody really doing something specifically for the homeless in that area in this project? Has anything been considered for them? And you can answer that, but while you're thinking about it, let's look at the objections for the County of Los Angeles. Would the county specifically object to the fact that you circumventing a court stipulation to get around the cap? And this is part of your report, the CAO's report from their office. Says that's a real problem for me. My question is, can the city attorney tell us whether or not this is in violation of the court stipulated order, which puts a cap on the CRA action in this regard? And hold my time, Madam President, please.
Good afternoon, Dov LaSalle, City Attorney's Office. We've looked at this for a long time. We believe that the county is wrong, and we are prepared to litigate this question of the Bernardi stipulation. We believe that that applied to the Central Business District, which is a redevelopment project area that was adopted by the board and by the council some 20-odd years ago. When that district was modified to release these areas, we have then gone through the proper procedures outlined in state law to adopt a new redevelopment project area, which is also subject to any challenge that the county or others may wish to take. But we believe that what we have done in accordance with law.
It says here that the county believes that the Central Industrial Project is in violation of the court-imposed stipulated judgment, which we agreed to. That's what it is, regarding the lifetime cap of the CBD project. Now, explain that as you hold my time.
And it was a lifetime cap on the CBD redevelopment project area, and we have honored that.
The county says you have not. When do you respond to them?
We have responded. We've been talking to them for the last year.
Okay, well, let me just read this to you. Second, the county did not receive the preliminary report until October 10th, 2002. You've been talking to them, but they just got it. This afforded the county inadequate time to review the agency's blight and fiscal analysis and prevented meaningful consultation with the agency. Third, the county is not satisfied that the agency has made an adequate showing of blight, particularly in regards to claims of economic blight. Now, you know, the county is not going to roll over and play dead. And if you just gave it to them October the 10th, that's not sufficient time for them before they go through their process, go to the Board of Supervisors and sign off on this. That is insufficient time. Is that October 10th date accurate? Yes or no?
I don't know. I would have to check with our staff and outside counsel.
It says here that the county...
I'm familiar with what the county alleged.
Yeah, all right. Ask your staff. I'll just wait.
The formal delivery of that document, that is the correct date, but we have spent a lot of time with the county. I personally had a meeting with the prior chairperson of this committee, our legal counsel, other people in the community to alert them that we are moving in this direction. That meeting took place a year and a half ago. Our staff has had constant contact with them with regard to our direction, and the key focus here relates to the conditions of blight, and they know that we were moving this direction. They've had plenty of opportunity. We've had discussions with them.
Well, I was just going to say in closing and sit down that the county is a pretty proficient organization. They do things on time and they do it correctly. And they don't need to deceive the city of Los Angeles or deceive any member of this council, certainly not me. I worked for them for 12 years. And if you got a dispute, I've seen us lose in those legal disputes with the county. And if the county says they're not going to consider this project unless and until you bring it to them in an appropriate amount of time to make it work, then that's going to be the case. Now, I'll support you going over there and litigating with them, but I'm tired of wasting city's time and money in litigation, period. Make sure you're right, make sure you win, because if you don't win, it's coming back, I'm going to be really hard.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Let's proceed. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I just rise to commend my colleagues and the CRA in their ability to fold in the element of the river into this whole dynamic for future change. Again, if we continue to look at ways in which we create these new gateways into these parts of the city, we'll continue to develop a base by which we can leverage resources and create new airspace and hopefully generate more tax benefits for the whole. So for that, I thank you for that great effort.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Mrs. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President, colleagues. I too rise, obviously, always hopeful about our redevelopment projects, and this is certainly one that has great hope and great promise. And so I stand in support and stand saying, again, this is a new commission with a good vision, with good passion, but I promised my son that I would stand up and speak today about an issue that Nate brought up. My son goes to Pepperdine University, and last night the speaker at their weekly convocation was Ted Hayes. And Mark called me up when he got back home, and he'd gone up and introduced himself. And Ted mentioned this project and mentioned again his feeling that we still weren't there in terms of our commitment to the homeless. And so, Mark, nothing like having your own son call you up and say where your commitment was. And so I'm pleased with what I've heard of what we're trying to do. I think it's important that we do maintain the stock of affordable housing that is here. I think it's important that the job training part of this is really magnified. And job training programs also have great promise, but really need accountability. And it's the outreach of those that either make it successful or not. So I really want to say that if there's anything about this that I want to make sure you're accountable on and that we pay attention to is certainly the job training outreach for those who are currently in this area. And hopefully, wouldn't it be great if it was through this project that we actually really did lift up some of our homeless and give them the skills and long-term careers that could really forever change their life. So I'm hoping that all of our redevelopment projects will really make an effort to prioritize and to really solidify the commitment that I think is on this council, and I think that the mayor has, about us really trying to make a major change in terms of our homeless population. So now I feel like I've been given an assignment by my own 18-year-old son to pay attention to this, and I will. And I applaud the things that you've already put into this project. But this one certainly has great promise. This is a redevelopment project that I think we all will be watching and looking forward to actually being completed.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Labange, followed by Ms. Perry for the second time.
Mr. President, member of the council, I was just out of the room and I heard Ms. Hahn speak, and she spoke of her son at college and Mark and him hearing about what Ted Hayes had to say. And I recall that this is Veterans Week, although Veterans Day was Monday, and when we were together with the governor out at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, they spoke about all week long, and some of the singers there in a special combination group were veterans. And some of the veterans are our highest population of homeless. And the governor addressed that, and also the Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the state, we spoke about that issue. So I want to make sure we look at that aspect, because the beautiful thing, and I'm sorry, members, I can't recall the name of the group that sang great patriotic songs. All of them were veterans who at one time were homeless. So you find a way to break the cycle. You find a way to come up, and that's a very important thing about what you're doing. And so I thought it was important, as you mentioned your son Mark, that connect back to Monday and Veterans Day, and this is Veterans Week, and this is an important project in the city, and it ties it together, and you also reflect the issue that I spoke of earlier about the river, which other folks have mentioned that is so important. So I just want to voice my support for it, but to put an extra effort in to really kind of make a difference. And also, and since we're in the month of November, which is Thanksgiving, and one of the greatest pictures is the great Thanksgiving Day organization from Fred Jordan's mission to other missions down in the heart of the city. I just thought it was appropriate I stand and mention that comment so we drive that point home for the
All right.
veterans, for the homeless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Ms. Perry now, please, for the second time. Ms. Perry?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I wanted to, after checking with the clerk, I wanted to proceed by introducing 3 resolutions.
All righty.
That I believe will be seconded by Mr. Pacheco. Do you want me to read them into the record?
Mr. Clerk, do they need to be submitted, or should they be?
I do have receipt of the resolutions and the ordinance before me. It's not necessary to read it into the record.
So that we're in compliance with the law if we proceed in that fashion.
All right, fine.
All right?
All right, I'm not quite sure how to reference them, but the first one deals with adopting written findings in response to each written objection. The second one requests certification that the City Council has reviewed and considered the information in the final EIR,
All right?
and to adopt a mitigation monitoring program and statement of overriding considerations. Resolution number 3 would elect, City of Los Angeles would elect to receive its share of tax increment from the Central Industrial Redevelopment Project. And one more with reference to the ordinance of the City Council approving and adopting the redevelopment plan for the Central Industrial Redevelopment Project. I think I need a second.
All right.
Second. Mr. Pacheco seconds.
It has been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, I should mention that it does include item number 4A, which is the amended motion that has been incorporated into these documents.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Perry. I think that you've complied with the requirements in order to move this forward. Mr. Clerk, what's now before us?
The 3 resolutions and the ordinance as amended.
All right, members, pursuant to the instructions from the clerk, and they are then in compliance with that which we must do in this joint committee, we are now prepared to vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Now close the roll. Please tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you very much.
Set forthwith.
That's forthwith to the mayor for signature, and we thank you for your attendance, members of the commission. And this concludes the actions for the day on this item. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Next item called special is item number 5. Inasmuch as a motion is required, there's 2 reports on one file. There's a budget and finance report and an ITGS report.
5919. Thank you. The chair now recognizes Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Budget and Finance Report and ask for its approval.
Thank you, sir. It's been properly moved. Is there a second? Listening for a second? All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. No person is listed on the speaker queue. That means we are now ready to vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Now close the roll. Please tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Thank you.
The ITGS report is received and filed, and the budget and finance report was approved.
Yep.
Item number 8 is the next item, and it's an item for which public hearing has been held. It was called special by Councilmember Garcetti.
Mr. Garcetti? Mr. Garcetti requests a 2-week continuance. Unless there is an objection, that will be the order.
That'll be December 10th.
All right. Next item, please.
The reason it's December 10th is we have a few recesses in between. Item number 11 is called special by Councilmember Weiss.
All right. Mr. Weiss, number 11 is before us.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And good morning, Mr. Canfield.
Good morning, sir.
Let me just ask a preparatory question for you. You know, I put a motion in February asking for reports from emergency preparedness on developing a formal plan on securing grant funding from government sources for threat preparedness needs, and you made a a report on that to Public Safety in October. You remember
Yes,
that?
sir.
That motion asked for reports to the council and to Public Safety every time you made an application for a grant in Washington. So I take it, have we made any grant applications?
This item today is not about a grant application in Washington, and I can explain what this is.
No, but I understand,
no,
I'm
we
asking
have
you
not.
differently. Okay, so we haven't, since February, applied for any Homeland Security-related grants?
It's because there are no specific sources of funding to apply to. If I may, on Monday of next week, for example, I will have staff in Sacramento working with representatives of the federal government and the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. Simultaneously on Monday, we will have city staff participating with the county on the distribution of $2.2 million in domestic preparedness grant monies for fire and police protective equipment.
I guess I'm not, I appreciate that, and this is not a statement about EPD, but, I mean, here we are, was it November now? You read the wires this morning coming over the email. I just got word of another terror attack in Israel, 9 civilians dead. This morning, the FBI is issuing a report to the entire country to be on high alert. What are we doing in the city of Los Angeles? Let me finish. The answer is not nearly enough, not nearly fast enough, and not nearly with the sort of governmental structure that we should have. Is Mr. Labange here? Mr. Labange? Because Mr. Labange had a great idea. Mr. Labange, you had a great idea a few months back. You came to the floor of this council and you said that you'd read, this is about 6 months ago, that former Senator Gary Hart was speaking out on preparedness issues. And you said, let's invite Senator Gary Hart in to this council to address these issues with us. And I remember when you said that. I'm going to be with him tomorrow. I'm going to be on a panel on Homeland Security. And so I would like to be able to tell him tomorrow that this council has in fact invited him to come and address us. So I would like to make a motion to amend this report to formally invite former Senator Gary Hart and former Senator Warren Rubin to come and discuss their work in the Homeland Security area.
Second.
Thank you for that, because I want to tell them that that's something that this council just voted on the day before. The other thing that I'd like to do is make a motion for the CLA to make a report back to us within the next 30 days and I'd like the CLA to list for us the city departments that play a role in Homeland Security functions, to detail the capacity with which all these city departments are involved or could be involved in the area of Homeland Security and preparedness, because I happen to believe that we have a flawed structure in the city right now. We don't have one boss. We don't have one director who's in charge of Homeland Security efforts. Now, Chief Bratton is doing a terrific job at the police department, and he is also right now looking at how the police department deals with the areas of counterterrorism and anti-terrorism. And I'd want the CLA to work with Chief Bratton and to work with his consultant over there to look at what they're proposing. But we need to bring all of these functions under one roof, under one director. And the reason I make that amendment here is because this motion talks about something slightly different, and you're absolutely right. It talks about a different issue involving having EPD act as the coordinator for grants, and I think that's good. And I support you on that, and I want you to do that. But what I don't want is any more of this coordinator function being used when it comes to threat preparedness in the city. I want a director. I want someone for where the buck will stop on this issue. And so that's why I would like the CLA to go out and catalog for us all of the different operations of all the different agencies that relate to threat preparedness, and then come up with a couple different models for how we could construct an agency that actually directs threat preparedness, not coordinates it, but directs it in this city. So that's my motion. Mr. Good. Thank you for seconding that. I appreciate that. The motion, Mr. Holden, is for CLA to go out and examine. It's for a report, Mr. Holden, to go out and tell us what are all the different city departments that have some functions or another relating to threat preparedness and homeland security, because Department of Transportation actually does some things. Rec and Parks has a little piece of this. EPD has a piece of this. Fire has a piece. Police has a piece. And police right now is looking at how to reorient what they're doing, how to beef it up. You know, in New York, they've got a general in charge of their threat preparedness efforts. We have nothing like that in the city of LA. So go out and look at all the different areas and then come up with proposals for how we could do this work better, how we could put it under a department that's actually in charge of our efforts. And I'd like to see their report in 30 days. And I appreciate my colleague seconding that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Now, Mr. Labange, followed by Mr. Holden.
I just wanted to say on Senator Gary Hart, I did see it on C-SPAN one day, and I thought it would be important because I don't think he had we do all these reports and have it articulated, so I think it'd be welcome if you sent him an official invitation from us there. But I also want you to look, too, in this report, that in some of the history, we have been prepared, Jack, in some areas, not to the level of what we talk about in our country's consciousness now, but our departments, and I've been involved and been out from earthquakes to incidents throughout, that there has been some preparedness in a cadre of team, but it has to go to a different level at some point. So I wouldn't want to discount the efforts of those in the police department and other agencies in the city family, that they have a role. And it's absolutely amazing. In the 1994 earthquake, I spent 21 days straight in the valley when I was working for the mayor's office with staff, working with the people, and there was a whole operation that was taking place that no politician got on the phone to call. It just fell into place because we did that. Now we have to take it to a higher level. So I want to credit some of their works and some of their efforts, but also be able to take it to a higher level. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Holden, followed by Mr. Reyes.
Mr. President, members, sometimes we in the City Council get a little carried away, demanding information that we don't need to know. And when you have top secret, the question is, even though you could be cleared for secret, the next question is, do you need to know? Now, we had this terrorist threat after 9/11, and many of you were not informed that the Emergency Preparedness Organization with the police, Chief of Police and others were tracking all those potential terrorists in the city of Los Angeles. And you were not even aware that some of them were arrested. The question is, did you ever need to know? And during the Second World War, the statement was, a slip of the lip will sink a ship. And some people want to get before the tube and say, here's what we're doing and here's how we're doing it. And all you're doing is transmitting information to a potential enemy or potential terrorist. Some people just don't have a need to know. And we can applaud all we want, this and that. But let me tell you, these are crucial times. The professional personnel people for the city, the state, and the nation are addressing it appropriately. And they know that some congressperson they don't leak the information to because they go out and call a news conference, or some senators, House representatives, because there's no need to know. You don't put it all on the table. You have to hold something back. Well, keep doing what you're doing, and don't tell me anything I don't need to know in order to apprehend a terrorist or anyone else. Because then you can't later on go in and say, we had a secret, but Nate Holden let it out. He couldn't wait until he get before the tubes. So I think you got to be very careful about that. We're so supportive of you. What you've done in the past has been pretty good. And you can train the new people coming aboard nowadays. And you have the wisdom and the knowledge to do that. You're not going to be, I should say, harassed by them, I would hope, and let them all know everything that you know, because then we won't be able to deal with the terrorists as we have to. And this is a very serious statement. It's not taking anybody on, but I made this statement after 9/11 also. The question is, again, do you need to know? A general being in charge of an outfit doesn't mean that we are not equally prepared or qualified to do the job. We have some top law enforcement officers here. We got to give them credit for the job that they did because it was well done. If you were to get the statistics and the people who were arrested here in the city of Los Angeles, you would applaud law enforcement for a job well done, and that job is keeping a lot of information away from the council members. Or we would not have been as successful as we turned out that we were. So I would say that I have a buck sergeant in charge if he's good. You know, that's no reason to say that one New York is better than we are, because I bet you they are not. If they did, why do we have the 911? In 1993, they would have known, and they should have known. The information was being leaked out, and you know about it, about that we were going to be attacked on that time. In 1993, we were attacked, the World Trade Center, and what did they say about it? Absolutely nothing. There are people, I can expose some people on that issue. New arrivals in the Trade Center in 1993. So don't tell me about who's prepared, who's qualified. We are well prepared. If they don't need to know, don't tell them.
Mr. Reyes, followed by Mr. Zine. Mr. Reyes defers. Mr. Zine. I understand, Mr. Reyes, in light of that.
Mr. Chair and colleagues, Bob Canfield, how many years did you spend with the LAPD?
23.
23. And
37 with the city.
And have you seen in your time, in your current position, a cooperative effort between departments when it comes to emergency preparedness?
I have witnessed our progression over the last 22 years that we have created a organization that's unique. I would caution you, and we can discuss this in greater detail in committee, but we have examined the experience of both our state and other jurisdictions that have brought in, quote, people to be the czar or the person in charge of homeland preparedness. And not all of these models are working the way people had envisioned, including what occurred in New York. Their Office of Emergency Management was first created in 1995-96, and there are a lot of difficulties with the way they structured it without taking into account that you have existing procedures and protocols and cultures in your established law enforcement and fire. The key is for everyone to know what their responsibilities are, and for everyone to be able to cooperatively, in a coordinated way, to be able to bring the resources to bear to solve the problem. And that's what we work very hard on, not just internal to the city, but with the County of Los Angeles, the state, federal agencies, and the private sector.
Now, do you find, and I've worked with the PD along with you in different capacities, that there's an exchange of information? I know that when an incident takes place, then the emergency personnel respond, whether it be police, fire, paramedics, et cetera. The exchange of information, the intelligence gathering, is there a cooperative fashion in that, or are there lapses and gaps?
Actually, the model used here in Southern California is being replicated around the country, held up by the federal government as a model for others to follow, and that is a group called the Terrorism Early Warning Group. That is something that we established countywide in the mid-90s following World Trade Center #1 and the Murrah building in 1995 in Oklahoma City. And actually, that is an outgrowth of intelligence, cooperative intelligence gathering that was started in preparation for the '84 Olympics, that we never lost sight of the importance of that from the mid-'80s, and we maintained those relationships with the FBI, the sheriff, and others to ensure that we would have mechanisms to do this.
And we still have that today?
Yes, we do.
So how much farther do you think we need to go to have an optimum for the safety of the people of this city?
Well, we can always do a better job, and we are constantly working to try to make sure that when something occurs that we can't prevent, that we have the ability to bring every conceivable resource to bear against that problem. And that is not a fully solved issue, because the resources belong to various agencies, federal, state, local, and private sector, and there are sometimes bureaucratic and legal reasons why you cannot do that. So that's a constant issue. I think the issue that is being raised today is whether or not you need another layer of organization or leadership over what we have in order to make it more effective. And I think that's something we would discuss with whichever committee you send this to.
I just have one conclusion. When it comes to the intelligence information, to prevent the incident, hopefully intelligence will generate that through infiltration of groups or whatever the case may be. I heard on the news that the New York City Police Department is sending detectives to foreign countries to gather intelligence information. Are you aware of that?
Yes, and so does this city.
Okay. And then that information then feeds back, and hopefully an arrest can be made or something can happen so that individual doesn't cause a disruption in the destruction or the terrorism. That information, to me, is the critical part, and a link that we haven't had as strong as it should have been. That information, in normal circumstances, is not released to the public, but the fact is we prevented an attack from taking place. Then there's the other side of the coin with your first responders, which I think we need to do enhanced training, better equipment, protection for the first responders, whether it be police, fire, paramedics, because as we saw in New York, there was a breakdown in many of the disciplines, and a number of people, including public safety personnel, perished in that because there really wasn't that connection of communication. Those are the areas that I think they're too separate, and how a czar that's going to be in charge of that full focus, I think you've got to break it down into different categories. The one which would be basically law enforcement, prevention, and then the secondary part of response and caring for the casualties that take place.
All right.
I would ask you to add a third to that, and in fact, intelligence is important, but terrorism today often involves very small cells of 1 or 2 people, and your intelligence is not as effective when you're dealing with situations like that. And it is very important for us to have the intelligence, to have our first responders prepared. It is also very important for us to be able to be as vigilant as humanly possible at all of our critical infrastructure and critical sites, both private and government. And that's one of the things that we are working very aggressively to try to accomplish. And it is a struggle to maintain that level of vigilance because people have a tendency to not want to maintain security over the long run.
All righty. Thanks very much. That essentially concludes the list of those on the speakers queue. And Mr. Clerk, I think we're now ready to open the roll on the matter. Please do so.
Mr. President, there are 2 amending motions on the desk presented by Councilmember Weiss and seconded by Mr. Garcetti. The first one, 11B, is requesting the CLA to report back with an examination of detailing the capacity of departments and Homeland Security efforts and threat preparedness, and to come back to the council with proposals in 30 days.
All right. Mr. Weiss has clarified his motion, or amplified, as the case may be. Are we now ready for the vote, Mr. Clerk?
You are on 11B.
11B is now before us. Please open the roll. Close the roll. Now tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, also 11A, which is a motion put forward by Mr. Weiss and seconded by Mr. Garcetti, is to invite Senators Hart and Redmond to the council to discuss their work in Homeland Security efforts.
It is before you, members. Open the roll, Mr. Clerk. Close the roll. Please tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you much.
And then you have 11 as amended before you.
The entire matter is now before us, members. Open the roll, Mr. Clerk. Close the roll. Please tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Mr. President, there is a special meeting agenda. Do you wish to recess this meeting and go into the special meeting?
That would be in order.
Okay. To call the roll, Bernson, Galanter, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Holton, Labange, Miskowski, Pacheco, Perry, Reyes, Burley, Thomas, Weiss, Sine, Padilla, 11 members present and a quorum.
Thank you. The item is now before us. Would you indicate what it is?
Item number 1, the only item on the agenda, is a CE and NR report regarding amendments to concession agreements for 10 concessionaires at Los Angeles International Airport in Ontario for rent relief and capital investment deferrals.
Per the request of Ms. Galanter, we'll move forward on this item. There are no speaker cards on it, and no one wishes to be heard. Mr. Clerk, I then believe that we can proceed to roll call. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Please open the roll on this item. Close the roll. Now tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you very much.
Do you wish that to go forthwith?
Forthwith to the mayor, please.
Okay, that's it for the special meeting. You may adjourn that meeting and go into the regular meeting again.
All right, if there's no objection, that meeting is now adjourned. We will now revert back to the regular meeting.
Now it's time for public comment on non-agenda items.
All right, we have one card on public comment. It is Mort Allen. Mr. Allen, are you here to be heard? We do not see Mr. Allen. Therefore, if no one else is prepared to be heard on public comment, that effectively closes the public comment portion of our meeting.
Motions for posting and referral.
All right, let's proceed with that. Motions?
All right, posted and referred.
Yes, sir.
And request for excuse from council attendance. Councilmember Perry requests to be excused November 27th and December 13th for personal business. This meets policy.
All right, it's then thereby granted.
The desk is clear.
Thank you. The desk is now clear. Members, are there any announcements that you wish to share prior to our doing the adjourning motions? I see no announcements. Let me then ask that you rise for adjourning motions. Those wishing to be heard by way of adjourning motions, please so indicate. Mr. Labange. Mr. Holden, please.
Mr. President, members, we're all sad to hear about Merlin Santana. It was gunned down in my district last Saturday morning as he sat in a parked car in a quiet street. Mr. Santana was 26 years old at the time of his death. He's best known for his TV role as Romeo Santana on The Steve Harvey Show. Seen on the WB Network also, he appeared on the other shows including Sister City, Major Dad, and The Cosby Show. Mr. Santana was a New York native. The police are aggressively working this case. 2 teenage girls are in custody suspected of murder, and additional suspects are being sought. The murder weapon is still outstanding according to this report. Mr. President, members, it's another clear example that this problem, these type of problems, exist not only in the inner city but throughout the entire city, much too often, and we've got to bring an end to it. We're going to demonstrate it by apprehending those other individuals involved in the killing of Mr. Santana. We're going to bring him to trial, and the punishment will fit the crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. The mother of Helene Smooker, who we may know, Mary Smooker, 92-year-old, mother of Helene, who worked for many years at SCAG, just passed. I'd ask that we adjourn her memory, lived a wonderful 92 years. And I'd like to ask Mr. Garcetti join me in Eugene Austin passed. Eugene was very involved in the Hollywood community, was a champion of the Hollywood Gateway Project at Cahuenga and Franklin Avenue. He's been involved in many activities throughout the Hollywood area and the business world. He is survived by his daughter and 2 grandchildren, and ask that we adjourn to the memory of Eugene Victor Austin, a dedicated resident of the Hollywood area who will leave his legacy as a beautification project completes itself at Franklin and Cahuenga.
Thank you.
To add on Helene Smooker's mother as well.
All right. Duly acknowledged. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Ms. Mizakowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask the council to adjourn in memory of Meyer Hoffenblum, who was known to us friends as Bob. He died at age 90 after having been for many years the owner and manager of a local stationery store in Hancock Park. After his retirement, he earned a law degree. and joined a neighborhood clinic to provide legal services for the poor. I think it's a great story, great inspiration. He's a friend of the family of a member of my staff, and survived by Bertha Hoffenblum, and I would like the council to adjourn his memory.
Thank you. Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I think you will all want to join me, and I think if everyone could be on the resolution, be appropriate, in adjourning in memory of the passing yesterday of the mother of our friend Barbara Yaroslavsky. Barbara's mother, Ruth Edelston, passed away yesterday at the age of 93. And I just want to read for you something that Barbara wrote about her mother. And I quote, "She was an avid reader, thinker, and organizer, one who tried hard to improve the world she lived in order to make her community a better place to live in for all people. Be it from thinking that she could help bring peace in the Middle East by hosting members of the Arab community in the 1950s, to hosting that now familiar and very fondly remembered, but then not so very well-known African-American police officer Tom Bradley, to blockbusting by selling her home to a Japanese-American doctor. She always lived her life as she expected others to. When her friend left LA by car to go south to ride in those freedom buses, leaving their families here, she provided support. She was always engaged in issues of importance, from making a statement of what was important, of some social value, and she never gave up that fight." And I think in that description, you can see Zev Yaroslavsky and Barbara Yaroslavsky. You can particularly see Barbara, and where Barbara got that extraordinary desire to every single day go out and do something for the community. She got that from her dear mother, and I think we all would like to send our sympathies to the family at this time.
Second.
I think the whole council should.
All members. Thank you. If you will, I'd ask that you join me in adjourning in memory of David K. Louis, the father of David Louis. Many of you know is one of the vice presidents of CB, Richard Ellis. Mr. Louis passed on November the 5th at the age of 83. He was a quiet gentleman who focused on details and was always willing to help those in need. His passion and dedication to his family and friends will be deeply missed. His funeral services will be held at the Church of the Recessional, Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale at 11:30 on tomorrow. He is survived by his wife, Pearl, who some of you will remember as a long-term employee here in the city of Los Angeles and Rec and Parks Department. 2 sons, 2 daughters, 7 grandchildren, and a sister, a retired federal agent with the IRS, and then went into the travel industry, owning his own company. David K. Louis made his mark in Los Angeles and will be greatly missed. I additionally wish to ask you to join in memory of Warren Harris, who passed at the age of 54 on Monday, November 4. He was the brother of Lawrence Jackson, who has been a member of the 8th District Empowerment Congress since its inception. Mr. Harris was a resident here in the city of Los Angeles for some 50 years. He's survived by 1 daughter, 6 sisters, 3 brothers, and 2 grandchildren. Belva Renee Wilson was employed here with the Department of Water and Power for some 22 years. And for the past 7.5 years, she was employed with the Personnel Department. Memorial services will be held for her on tomorrow at the Proud Bird in Los Angeles, California. She's survived by her mother, Jody Johnson, 1 sister, and 1 brother. And finally, Violet Wood, who passed on November the 6th. And her services were held on this past Wednesday. She's survived by her son, Gladstone Wood. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. Thank you very kindly. We're now adjourned, and we trust that you'll have a safe weekend.